there are competencies in theory and practice. And this is some competency based. That is, we have to concentrate to some extent this topic. That does not mean we should not go beyond this. Now, competency 1.6 of general physiology, it includes the body fluids, ionic composition and measurement. You will find it. Competency 1.6 is related to body fluids. And you all know that anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, they are different parts of human biology and there are overlaps. And you will see that the same topic may be dealt in physiology department, in biochemistry department, or in some cases anatomy department. But you should not lose your attention. You can follow how they are being dealt with by men of different subjects, and that will enrich your knowledge. Yeah. So, cellular physiology also we will discuss one after another. Beginning day, it is my common practice is to start with this. That is the composition of the human body and the body fluid compartments and their measurements. And physiology, if you go through, it is an easy subject and to some extent dealt in your higher secondary courses. Now this composition of the human body, there is elemental composition, but we are concerned more with that of the different, there is a compound by which we are formed. In an average young adult individual, 60% of the body weight, 60% of the body weight is what? 18% or so is protein. 15% nearly it is due to fat. And 7% minerals. So it is 100%. 100%. This is carbohydrate is our principal food material, but its composition is low, 1% or so. 1% or so. So it is ignored in this case. 60% of the body weight is water. So in a 70 kg individual with normal appearance, that is 70 kg individual, so it is 42 kg or 42 liter or kg. This is the total body water. And this distribution is important because all our cells, millions and billions of cells, were multicellular animal. In this case, the cells are surrounded by extracellular fluid. And within the cell, there is the intracellular fluid. Bengali medium students, they have read in books, Kosh Bahirbhuta Taro, Kosh Madhyastha Taro, in this. And the measurement of this compartment is not done routinely, but a concept is required. Because body fluid loss is a common problem in diseases and it has to be replaced sometimes. Gastroenterology saline that. So we have to have some concept regarding this. How how they are distributed and what are their names. It is important to some extent for some examinations also. Total body water, and it can be divided grossly into two compartments: extracellular fluid and intracellular. One third is extracellular fluid and two third intracellular. 60%. So it is 20% of body weight. Total body weight or body weight. It is 14%. Tin chaddong 42. So it is 14 liter of kg and 28 liter. So 70 kg individual, and this is distribution. Now this extracellular fluid compartment outside the cells, it is mainly in the two compartments. One within the blood vessels, intravascular, and that is called plasma. And another is interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid. Interstitial. Yes. Plasma is now of this, there is the 5%. If you consider this 10%, so 25% is plasma and 75% is IS. But you maintain this body weight concept. So it is 5% of the body weight, 5% body weight, and 15% of the body weight. So from this concept, it is 3.5 kg or liter or kg. Density 1 equal to 3.5 liter. So remaining part, that is, if it is there it is 10.5 liter per kg. Interstitial. बुझा गया? 5% of body. And our blood volume is 8% of the body. Blood volume is 8%. 8%. Blood volume of body weight. 8% of body. And there are different blood donating camps organized by good people, and they constantly inform by means producing sound pollution that this is the part of the body weight. Everyone should know. And from this you can have some concept before you entering into this college. There is the 8% of the body. Now the remaining 40% is the intracellular fluid. Now how this different compartments can be measured. Total body water can be measured. Suppose you, from very beginning you can think that if you take a mouse, weighing it, and then after killing it, you dry it completely, and take the weight, and then can we have some idea. Previously, in this way, we have some understanding. But now the volume of distribution is our basic concept. Volume of distribution. These compartments can be determined by the volume of distribution. Suppose we have two containers. One has a fixed geometric composition, and another is this type. If
fluid is filled up to this level.
In this container, you can easily calculate. You can easily calculate, knowing this area and this height, the volume, pi r square h. But in this case, it is not possible. In this case. So, in which way it is filled with water, this type of irregular shaped, then what method we can adopt to find out the volume contained in it? তোমাদের কি মনে হয় এই ক্ষেত্রে হলে এরকম যদি একটা বোতল থাকে যেটার একটা অনিয়মিত একটা আকার আছে, তাহলে সেই ক্ষেত্রে যদি জল থাকে তাহলে কি করে আমরা বুঝতে পারব যে সেখানে কতটা জল আছে? তুমি কি করে এটা মেজার করবে? তাহলে এটা হচ্ছে ভলিউম অফ ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন। তখন তুমি করবে কি, তুমি 10 গ্রাম নিলে, সোডিয়াম ক্লোরাইড নিলে, সেটাকে এর ভিতরে ডিজলভ করলে, তারপরে কেমিক্যাল কম্পোজিশনটা তুমি বার করে নিলে, সোডিয়াম ক্লোরাইড হোমোজেনাস সলিউশন হলো, concentration everywhere is the same. Then you take a sample, have the concentration of sodium chloride done, and divide this and divide the total amount that is resolved by that concentration, and you get the volume. It is the volume of distribution. যেমন মনে করো কোনো জায়গায় যাচ্ছ, একটা ওয়েল আছে, একটা কুয়ো আছে, তার তলায় জল আছে, তুমি জানো না কত ডেপথ কোনো কিছু, তাহলে তুমি সেক্ষেত্রে কি করবে? হয়তো কোনো একটা ভ্যালুয়েবল জিনিস তার ভিতরে পড়ে রয়েছে, জানতে হবে তো সেখানে কতটা নিচে যেতে হবে, তাহলে এই ভলিউম অফ ডিস্ট্রিবিউশনই করতে হবে। সেখানে তুমি হয়তো 1 কেজি লবণ কিনলে, সেটা জলের মধ্যে গুলিয়ে নিলে, সেটা তার মধ্যে ঢেলে দিলে, খানিকক্ষণ বাদে যখন সেটা গুলে গেল, পুরোপুরি হোমোজেনাস সলিউশন তৈরি হল, সমস্যা। and then take a sample and have this concentration of sodium chloride done, divided the amount that is in the same concept. Not only in this case, but also in respiratory volumes, they can be measured in this way. Volume of distribution. Now we come to one by one. There is how the plasma volume can be measured. Plasma volume can be measured in an individual. And from your higher secondary concept, you know that the plasma that contains the proteins, they are large molecular weight substances. They cannot easily percolate through the membrane. Capillaries at the site where there is exchange of fluid. But exchange of fluid, because they are small molecules, but the proteins are large molecules, and the cellular components or the formed elements, they are also large. They cannot traverse across the epithelium. In some cases, they do traverse. But when this question arises, it is not, you can take it for granted, if we tag some substance with the plasma protein, whether it may be a dye or it may be a radioactive element, then it will, after some time, distribute. And if you take this sample that is added and the quantity, and in case of radioactivity, by scintillation counters, or in case of some dye, what is the concentration can be known by different physical methods. And by the same volume of distribution, you can, but in that condition, that in the living subject, you have to know what amount has been eliminated or metabolized in this. And that is the tagging material should be such that it will not alter the body fluid compartment composition that you want to measure. It must be non-toxic. And whatever eliminated can be known. It can be easily measured. Then these are the criteria of these substances that are used in different cases. In case of plasma, you take a substance dyed like Evans blue, T1824, and on a radioactive tagging, by radioactive iodine, you can unite with the albumin. And if you know the initial reading, and after injection, you take some blood sample, and then incubate it with the radioactive material, and it is your original thing. And you take this radioactivity, and this is injected into the individual. And after equilibration, you know the concentration. And from this, you can easily find out what should be the plasma volume. And you will find that this is the 3.5 liter per kg in that individual. It is 70 kg individual also. And if you know the plasma volume by hematocrit, you can easily find out. Hematocrit. Hematocrit means that is the percentage of cells. Percentage of cells, mostly the RBCs, in unit volume, that is called hematocrit. Hematocrit. Suppose you take a known amount of blood and adding some anticoagulant, solid anticoagulant, and then you centrifuge, rotation. Centrifugation means that is this gravitational force will increase. Gravitational force will increase according to the degree of rotation. And after sedimentation is complete, and then you find that it is separated into two layers. The lowermost bottom part is the red part, and then there is the plasma. Normally, if you take unit volume, it is 0.45. 0.45 is the hematocrit, and 0.55 is the plasma, and it is the hematocrit or RBC simply. Platelets, WBC, they take a small volume. So roughly this is the hematocrit in decimal fraction. The percentage, it is 45%, and it is 55% in normal individual. And if you get this plasma volume, and if from this you can find out the blood volume by this HCT. Suppose 100 minus HCT. This plasma volume, you get the total blood volume. Blood volume. Blood volume. বার করে নিতে পারবে। তোমার যদি এটা নর্মাল ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল if you consider, suppose it is 100 divided by 100 minus HCT, suppose it is 40 and then 3.5 liter, you get the blood volume. বার করে নিতে পারবে তুমি। প্লাজমা ভলিউমের মধ্যে এতটা টোটাল ব্লাড ভলিউমে এতটা প্লাজমা জানতে কি হচ্ছে 1 মাইনাস HCT ইন ডেসিমাল ফ্র্যাকশন, পার্সেন্টেজ হচ্ছে 100 দিয়ে গুণ করে দিতে হবে, তাহলে এইভাবে দিই পাবে। তুমি যদি ভাবো এটা আমি অন্য ডেসিমাল ফ্র্যাকশনে নেব, তাহলে কি হবে, এটার জায়গায় তুমি 1/1 মাইনাস 40 গুণ ধরবে, তাহলেই হবে। এটা একই ব্যাপার, ডেসিমাল ফ্র্যাকশন তুমি যদি নাও, এটাই জিনিসটা, তারপরে গুণ করবে, তাহলেই হয়ে যাবে। Or and if you subtract from this value the plasma value, you can get the RBC, total RBC volume. Or RBCs can be measured individually. If you take some substance with RBCs, it is possible. It can be directly measured. Individual, human being or animal, the RBCs can be directly measured. Like plasma, it is directly measured. Then the RBC should be tagged with some radioactive substance. Suppose 51 chromium, 59 Fe, 32 phosphate. There are the radioactive substances, and you can take that by different methods. And similar to that of the plasma volume, you can have some particular sample which is radioactive. You take blood sample of individual, and these RBCs are blood volume, these RBCs are tagged with it, and then you can have some idea. You can isolate the RBCs and tag them with them, and inject. After injecting, and after there is some time when it will be distributed to all the areas, you take another blood sample and you isolate the RBCs, and you see what is the radioactivity. And by the same volume of distribution method, you can. In this way, you can get directly, then blood volume is equal to plasma volume plus RBC volume. And otherwise you can find out the plasma volume, and from which by this formula you can the blood volume. And from the blood volume, if it is subtracted the plasma volume, you get the RBC volume. RBC volume. Yeah. Total blood volume is 8% of the body weight. 5% is plasma volume and 3% is this is packed RBC volume. 3% is packed RBC volume. You have this basic concept. Suppose whenever in hematology discussion, this may be repeated. And then it will be easier to remember. Similarly, everywhere in different subjects of this human biology, you will find some overlaps. And I think it is beneficial. Same thing, reading like twice any part. Now it is now come to the concept of there is how extracellular fluid volume can be measured. Extracellular fluid volume. Extracellular fluid volume, it includes the plasma. Extracellular fluid volume can be measured because it is outside the cells. Outside the cells, and there are some substances that cannot enter into the cells. Any cell. Suppose inulin, sucrose, manganese, these are the carbohydrates. They are larger molecules and they cannot enter into this. And these substances, if these substances are injected along with some electrolytes also, that cannot easily enter. Radioactive sodium, chloride, and also other compounds, other elements, that cannot enter in this. They can be used. But the sugars can be used in this. Inulin, sucrose, they can be used. Sucrose can be used. We eat sucrose and it is divided by the digestive enzyme into glucose and fructose, and they are absorbed and utilized. But if we inject sucrose, there is no enzyme that can break down sucrose outside the intestinal lumen. And so some may be eliminated in the some may be eliminated. So during this period, this sucrose that is eliminated in the urine can be detected. Suppose after urination an individual, you inject some sucrose of the individual, and after some time, when you consider that the distribution in the body fluid is complete, then the individual urinates and its volume and the concentration of sucrose by biological methods you can, and then multiplication you get the amount that is eliminated during that. And you have to subtract this from the total amount that is injected. And the plasma sample, on the plasma sample, plasma is in communication with the extracellular fluid, and its concentration you expect that everywhere it is set. Otherwise, it is how to take a sample from the interstitial fluid. It is almost impossible. But it is easy to collect from the plasma sample, from the blood taken from the peripheral blood. So the plasma volume, sample you can find out the concentration, and you divide that amount that is injected minus eliminated, you get it. And they give some figure for understanding. Suppose 150 milligram is injected, and during the period of equilibration, 150 milligram is injected, of sucrose injected, minus 10 milligram during the period of equilibration, and it has been distributed in everywhere. And if you take a plasma sample of 0.1 milligram per ml, and in this way you can find out what should be the value. এটা আমার ভুল হতে পারে। আমি যখন আলোচনা করি সাধারণত আমি নোট ব্যবহার করি না, কিছু আমরা ভুল হতে পারে। basic concept of monitor. কোন জায়গায় ভুল হচ্ছে সারা কোন জায়গায় ভুল করেছে, and that is it will be beneficial for to remember this. So in this gate you will get a value of suppose 14000 ml, that is equal to 14 liter, and it is called sucrose space, and in that case it is called sucrose space. And it is different for different compounds. To some it is different. You do not know whether it enters into every nook and corner of this space. Extracellular volume is a space, and it has multiple ramifications in different cells. It may be possible that during this process it cannot enter into all the cells, all the areas. আমি দিলাম যে সব জায়গায় সেটা না পৌঁছাতে পারে, কোন জায়গায় ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন নাও থাকতে পারে, কোন জায়গায় কম পৌঁছাতে পারে। তারপর there is the blood brain barrier. Some substances cannot enter easily the blood brain barrier, and equilibration in joint fluid spaces, with fluid into the eye, these are the prolonged processes, and also in the brain's connective tissue. Some tendons, bones, they are cannot be, it may not come, or in some cases it is not possible to penetrate. So we take this as a rough guide. It is called sucrose space. Typical compound in this case is inulin. We will come across this term many times, inulin, in measurement of GFR also. Inulin, and it is a fructose polymer, and in this space you can, and so it is an ideal value. It cannot enter into this inulin. The basic process, extracellular fluid volume, the mass injected minus this mass eliminated or metabolized, divided by the equilibrium value after it is equilibrium in the body fluid, plasma, and give that space. It is inulin space, or by radioactive sodium chloride they can be measured, or other compounds you will find in the text. I cannot remember everything. Extracellular fluid volume that can be measured. Now interstitial fluid volume cannot be measured directly because it has free communication with that of the blood vessels. So to get the interstitial fluid volume, idea say you have to subtract the plasma volume from the extracellular fluid volume. You say volume minus plasma. There is a term transcellular fluid. Cellular fluid. Where there may be equilibrium or not, you do not directly know. But to take, there is a glandular secretion. There are multiple glands in different organs. There are secretion. Within the GI gland there is some fluid. There is a fluid. Suppose many hours after the taking meal, then what is present? It is due to the secretion of intestinal secretion, gastrointestinal fluid plays a role in the glands, within the eyes, within the joint space, and these are places where there is transcellular. There is a cellular boundary around, and this amount is small. But in some disease condition, it may be more also. It is called transcellular, and it is a compartment of. It is almost a compartment that belongs to extracellular. Transcellular. Now, intracellular fluid volume cannot be measured directly. Intracellular fluid volume cannot be measured directly. Intracellular cannot be measured directly because they are divided components. Billions and billions of cells, and they are divided. You cannot. It is not possible to find any substance that will remain within the different all the cells in homogeneous fashion. It is not possible. So it can be measured by knowing the total body weight and subtract subtracting ECM volume from the total body. So ICM can be measured by knowing the total body water. TBW minus this total body water minus ICM minus ECM. You get the IC, intracellular fluid. Now how to measure the total body water? Total body water 70 kg. Total body water. This is the total body water. By the same volume of distribution method. Same volume of distribution method. Then you have to choose a particular substance that can easily enter into the cells and also outside. যার পারমিবিলিটি এরকম যে ইচ্ছা মতো সেলের মধ্যে ঢুকতে পারে বাইরেও যেতে পারে টিপিক্যাল সাবস্টেন্স ইজ ওয়াটার typical substance is water, so we have to take some, that is the isotopes of water, deuterium oxide or tritium oxide, D2O, heavy water, D2, and tritium oxide, deuterium oxide, tritium oxide, deuterium oxide and tritium oxide, and they are homologues of water and they can easily percolate. Their physical properties to some extent differ, but otherwise they are almost equivalent to that of the water. And in this measurement of total body water in an animal or individual, it gives accurate results. And they can be measured by their radioactive compound, I think, and they can be measured. Suitable aliquot can be taken, that is injected, and after equilibration you can find out by the same volume of distribution of the total body. Or aminopyrin, there is a compound that is also used that can freely enter into the cells. Aminopyrin, they can be used. Aminopyrin. By means of this compound, total body water can be measured by the volume of distribution. Total body water can be measured accurately. And then extracellular fluid volume is to be subtracted from this and you get this. There is this. You get this intracellular fluid. তোমাদের রোল নাম্বার এখনো জানা হয়নি, সে চলবে এখন এরকম টোটাল বডি ওয়াটার। Now this body water, so the different compartments that can be measured in this way, and this fat content of the individual is variable. Fat content of the individual is variable. Total water content of the lean body mass. That is the body weight minus the fat content, and it is 71 to 72%. Lean body mass. Water in lean body mass. Lean body mass minus fat content. So if you, in that case, you have to consider this is not present, then this value will increase. If you consider body weight minus this 15%, 85%. So 85% will contain that volume, and if you calculate, it will be close to that of the 71 to 72% of body weight, lean body mass, in lean body mass. When you ignore this, you take the body weight, 85% of the body weight, and the 60% is water. Then you can, it will be 71 to 72%. You can calculate yourself. In women, the fat content is to some extent more, so their percentage of water is to some extent lower. So in small children, then this, in that case, the extracellular volume ratio, extracellular divided by intracellular volume ratio is to some extent more than adults. But their absolute value is low. Absolute value, 12% of the absolute value is low. So dehydration is more harmful to youngs of the individuals. So the idea is this can keep a good number of children than the others. এই যে তোমার বাদ দিই না, ফ্যাটটাকে বাদ দিই না, হ্যাঁ 85%, ওই যে তোমার যে 70 কেজির যদি হয় তাহলে পরে সেটাকে তোমার এটা ভাগ করে দিতে হবে, ফ্যাটটা বাদ দিয়ে দিতে হবে। বাট 85% তাহলে বডি ওয়েটে মানে সে কমে যাবে, এবং তার মধ্যে যদি জলটা বেশি থাকে 70% দাঁড়াবে। 70 to 75% দি লিন বডি মাস। তাহলে তোমার কি 70 কেজি থেকে 15%টাকে তোমাকে বাদ দিতে হবে, 85% তুমি মাস পাবে। হ্যাঁ, তাকে যদি 42 দিয়ে ভাগ করো, 42 কে সেটাকে যদি 42 দিয়ে ভাগ করো তাহলে তুমি এই পার্সেন্টেজটা দেখবে 60% থেকে বেশি হবে। বুঝতে পারছো? যেমন করো, এটা হচ্ছে তোমার এখানে আমি 42 দিয়েছি, 42 ডিভাইডেড বাই 70 ইনটু 0.8 যদি করো তাহলে পরে দেখবে কাছাকাছি এখানে চলে যাবে। চলে যাবে। এটা নিজের একটু দেখে নিতে হবে, যেগুলো বই দেওয়া আছে এই সমস্ত শুধু ভ্যালুটা দেওয়া থাকে, তোমাদের একটু আইডিয়া করে নিতে হবে। নাও অল দি compartments are in communication, and normally there is always exchange of water, either because of diffusion or filtration, and in the steady state they are more or less constant. And it is mainly due to the osmotic forces that are generated. They are constant. And how and osmosis can explain. And what should be its change value in different circumstances, you can easily understand from your knowledge of osmolality and also its permeability. It can determine what should be the effect of either loss of osmotically active particles or gain also in liquid state. You have some thoughts. Total osmolarity, molarity and molality is similar to that of the osmolarity and osmolality. We can discuss in other classes to some extent in detail, but today time is limited. We should concentrate that it has the colligative property. Depends upon the number of the particles. Colligative property. Boiling point elevation, freezing point depression, osmotic pressure. These are the examples of vapor pressure depression. These are the colligative property. Depend not on the nature, but the number of molecules present in this cell. And it accurately can be measured by freezing point depression. And by the freezing point depression, it has been seen that it is around 300 milliosmol, 290 or 300 milliosmol, easy to remember, 300 milliosmol per kg, per kg or liter. If you can consider the density as 1, then this is the volume. This is the value of the body temperature. And also, whenever it is in equilibrium with the intercellular, you take this value. And in that condition, we have not to consider the individual particles. Then, and in that concept, you can have some understanding. You can have some also calculate also what should be the altered state if there is some loss of electrolytes from the body or the osmotically active particles from the body. We have some concept. You take this value as a representative value. It is 290 milliosmol. For understanding, we easily remember this. 300 milliosmol per kg. And it is known almost perfectly by knowing the freezing point depression. Freezing point depression. And not the equivalent of all the elements. All the elements, even may not be known. But freezing point depression, that it indicates these are the osmotically active particles. And you take this value as a representative value. So you can consider in an individual of 70 kg, then the total osmotically active particle in an individual is to multiply with the total body water. So it is 42 liter into 300 milliosmol. Total osmotically active particles. Total osmolar level. Osmolality. Now osmolality and osmolality, that is similar to molality and molarity. Suppose in case of, if you consider the case of glucose's molecular weight is 180 molecular weight, and it is a fraction, and it is a pure number, molecular weight 180, and molecular expressing mass fraction, then we can consider as a diagrams of kilogram. So in that case, the osmol, similar to mole, you take it 180 gram. So 1 milliosmol is equal to 180 milligram. But in case of sodium chloride, the mole is 35.5 plus 23, it will 58.3. It is mole. But if you consider that it is freely divided, and ideally it is completely divided, the mole will produce 2 osmoles. So in case of sodium chloride, you consider they have to divide it by 58.5 divided by 2 gram is the osmole we consider when we consider the sodium chloride, because they divided into 2 particles. Mole is 58. And molality is that when it is present in a particular weight of the solvent. Suppose 1 kg. It is a mass and it is not variable, vary with temperature also. And it contains 180 milligram. Then it is 1 milliosmol. In osmolarity, it is this. In osmolarity, when it consider the kg of the solvent, you can take a liter. It is secondary to that is density. But you take 1 liter of glass and you add first, then 180 milligram of glucose, and then fill it up to the level. Then it is the osmolar concentration. It is not osmolar concentration. বুঝা গেল? তুমি যদি 1 কেজির মধ্যে রিজার্ভ করে নাও 180 milligram, then it is not affected by temperature also, and this is the osmolar concentration. And if you take a measuring flask, you initially take 180 milligram of sugar, glucose, and you then add water, dissolve, and up to cleanly up to the level of the 1 liter. So some volume is occupied by this solute, and as the volume, it can be affected by the temperature. So it is called osmolarity, and its concentration is osmolar concentration. There is the difference. Similar to molarity and molarity. And the textbooks, they mention this. These are these things we have to mention. Physiology, when you go to detail, they will be easy stuff. When you consider the subject, what is the utility of knowing this subject? But as a university, and we are also appointed to have to speak something. By freezing point depression, this value in osmolality can be easily measured. Now, in this case, you have to know that is the total osmolality. This is the total amount of equivalent to that of the particle that is present. 1 mole of a substance contains 6 in 10 to the power 23 molecules. As a Colligeri property, you can Avogadro number you can remember. So that it is equivalent to that of the number particles. Now, and it is distributed into 1/3 and 2/3 basis in ECF and ICF. Distributed. In 1/3 in ECF and 2/3 in ICF. Because they are in equilibrium in ICF. And it is because they are in equilibrium. Now suppose this individual after some exercise has lost electrolytes or osmotically active particles in sweat, but then the amount of water and all loss is from the extracellular fluid, because all this secretion from the sweat gland, from the skin, these are from the extracellular fluid, primarily extracellular fluid, and replace the total body water, then the volume is same by taking water, but there is a depletion of the salts that is suppose 500 milliosmol has been lost in this case. And there is loss of 500 milliosmol. And in that case, initially and after some time, there will be equilibrium. And the total osmotically active particle you have to consider. In that case, it is minus this. That is the total is 42 into 300 milliosmol. Minus 500. This is the value in that case. And as the total body water is not changed, because it then requisite amount, theoretical consideration you can take. 42 is the total body water liter, 300 milliosmol per liter if you consider. So it is the total amount of osmotically active particles present. And in that physiological condition, there is loss of this amount because I am sweating. If I drink water, salt has been replaced. Salt has not been replaced, but water is replaced. So in that altered condition, you can condition in that body, these are the amount of osmotically active particle that is present. It is lost. And you have to divide this with total body water. That has been replenished. And if you take divided by 42, and you will get some help. যেমন 600 কমন যায় 600 ধরি তাহলে ক্যালকুলেশনের সুবিধা হবে, তাহলে পরে সেক্ষেত্রে you get some value, and this value, it is the osmotic tension, that is the osmolality in the present state, osmolality per liter. You will get some value. Now you consider this loss. Is from the extracellular, and with this value, from this value you can find out that is what should be the normal extracellular fluid. Suppose this value is X, and it is loss of 511 from the extracellular fluid volume. Extracellular fluid volume is, that is the 14 into 300 minus 6 divided by gets, and you can then get this extracellular. After equilibration, you get this value. You get this value. And this loss is exclusively from the extracellular fluid. And you take this value minus 600 divided by 6, then get you the modified form. If you take this data, you can calculate. And so in that case, the ICF will be 42 minus, suppose it is the value minus 1. बुझा गया? Older texts, they are not put like this. They are those who are reading, they are less intelligent, they cannot understand everything, so that mentioned. But as time progresses, they realize that we are dealing with much more intelligent people, so that they are ignoring this and replacing by different other aspects. But I want to, this is that have some concept regarding this. If we have this concept, then it will be easier to understand the fluid electrolyte balance also. That is written in the book, or you are giving science. আমরা যেখানে পড়তাম সেখানে একটা অন্ধকারময় যুগ ছিল, সেখানে কেউ কিছু বলতো না, জানলেও বলতো না। ভাই আমরা অত ওয়ার্ডে গিয়েছি, স্যালাইন দেওয়া হচ্ছে, কেউ কিছু কেন দেওয়া হচ্ছে, কি দেওয়া হচ্ছে, কি বডি কোথায় যেটা যাবে না যাবে, কেউ কিছু বলতো না। জিজ্ঞাসা করলেও বিরক্ত হচ্ছে। যারা আসছে তারা সমাজসেবা নিয়ে ব্যস্ত, যারা আমাদের যারা সিনিয়র ছিল তারা আমাদের কিছু বলতে কথা কিছু শুনতে। But we have the same, we have the duty. But because I consider it is a biological science for the first year. After then, you enter into the realm of business. That are conducted by much superior people like that. But we have to take this, otherwise we should get entry into this subject properly. Suppose with this concept you are considering that you are taking 2 liter of the individual take 2 liter of water, and how then is the distributed? If an individual takes 2 liter of water, and we consider the theoretical case that there is no loss in the emission, and what should be the effect? Or if we inject this amount theoretically in an individual 2 liter of glucose solution, glucose is metabolized and the water part will remain in the body, then what should be the effect? Initially, this water is going to the, either by injection or by injection, it is going to the extracellular, and quickly it can enter into the cells, because water molecule can easily enter into the cells. So there will be increase in the total body water. Increase in total body water. And in this case, if you consider it is 2 liter of water, then in that case becomes, so it will be 44 liter of water. Total body water. In this changed condition, as an osmotically active particles are not being changed, because in this condition there is no question of change of the osmotically active particle. So in that case, the osmolality will be a new value. It will be 42 into 300. It is remaining unchanged, and it is divided by 40, and it is this change value. So it is somewhat less than 300. And in that case, you are considering that the extracellular fluid volume, there is the osmotically active particles separated in them, and they are not changed, and you get some elevated value. And in that case, it is 14 into, in the ECA value, in this case, what will be the ECA value? It is 14 into 300 divided by this value. And ICF will be 44 minus this. And you will find that they will be equally distributed. 1/3 of the, because water 3 in the extracellular fluid, and 2 into 2 by 3 in the intracellular. In this way, so what is the purpose I am writing this? That in this way you can have understand what should be the effect, in which condition there will be more loss from the body, from which compartment. From which compartment. Now time is to some extent limited, so we can recapitulate this. Normally, in an young adult individual, total body composition is 60% of the body weight is water, 18% roughly it is protein, 15% is fat, 7% is mineral. Carbohydrates are present, it is 1% or so. They are present as part of the protein, glycoprotein or glucoprotein in this way. They are present 1%. So you can rearrange this value. And this elemental composition is to some extent different components. This concept, elemental composition, which elements? And in this case, the head part is the carbon, it is 50%. 50%. I have data, but I do not want to possible I can. It's difficult to remember everything. Only some glimpses I can have. Suppose in this elemental composition. I am only mentioning only a few. You can have some from biochemistry text. It is the suppose element in body weight, dry body weight. Carbon is 50%. Carbon is 50%. Oxygen 20%. Hydrogen 10%. Nitrogen 8.5%. Calcium 4%. And phosphorus 2.5%. Potassium 1%, sulfur 0.8%, sodium 0.4%, and chloride 0.4%. Besides others, there are smaller fractions. Main is carbon. Is 50%. এলিমেন্টাল কম্পোজিশন দেওয়া আছে, কিন্তু এখন ফিজিওলজি টেক্সটগুলো এগুলোকে ইগনোর করছে যে এগুলো ছেলেরা ব্যাপার করে জেনে নেবে। এই জন্য আমি কাছে বলি, তাও আমি তো বলে দিচ্ছি আরেকবার, এলিমেন্টাল কম্পোজিশন কার্বন 50%, যেটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট, যেগুলো বেশি সংখ্যা আছে। কার্বন 50%, অক্সিজেন 20%, হাইড্রোজেন 10%, নাইট্রোজেন 8.5%, ক্যালসিয়াম 4%, and phosphorus 2.5%. Potassium 1%, sulfur 0.8%, sodium 0.4%, chloride 0.4%, magnesium 0.1%. Iron 0.01%, magnesium 0.001%, iodine 0.00005%. Chlorine হচ্ছে 0.4%, magnesium 0.1%. Magnesium is primarily intracellular. Calcium is primarily extracellular. Magnesium is intracellular. It is a only nature knows how it is possible. But this potassium is in high concentration in the intracellular, and sodium in high concentration in the extracellular. And this is when pumping action, it is the nature's device. Iron is 0.01%. Iron is present in hemoglobin, but its total percentage of weight, the dry weight, is 0.01%. Magnesium 0.001%. Manganese is 0.00 trace element, and iodine 0.00005. কাজে আয়োডিন ইজ প্রেজেন্ট ইন থাইরয়েড হরমোন কিছু 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 ভুলত্রুটি আমরা হবে কিন্তু ইউ শুড ইগনোর ইট নো and you can consult with that we have this type of mistake. Now there are 2 minutes remaining, time is precious. Now this total body water 60%, it can be divided into two parts. One is intracellular fluid and the extracellular fluid. 2/3 is intracellular fluid, 1/3 is extracellular fluid. And intracellular fluid is again divided into two compartments. One is plasma, that is the 5% of the body weight, and 50% body weight is interstitial. Total body water must be measured by some agent that is equivalent to water in the physical process. They can easily percolate to the membrane. There is the isotopes of hydrogen or water, deuterium oxide, calcium oxide, amino by means of this volume of distribution, it can be measured. Extracellular fluid can be measured by the compounds that cannot enter into this. Inulin, sucrose, mannose, they are the compound by means of which it can be. But and also radioactive sodium chloride also. But you should not, and this volume to some extent vary because some element sodium can enter into the cell, or in some cases it cannot traverse every nook and corner of the extracellular fluid. So they are called sucrose space, inulin space. Inulin is the ideal compound in this extracellular fluid. Plasma volume measured by some substance that unite with that of the plasma proteins. It may be a dye, and proteins do not come across the cell membrane, endothelial cells. So by the volume of distribution it can be measured. And RBCs can be measured indirectly. Plasma volume multiplied by 1 minus 1 divided by 1 minus AC in decimal fraction. You can find. Or otherwise RBCs can be measured directly by any tagging. It may be antigenic tagging also, radioactive tagging like 51 chromium, 59F or 59F and 32%. Now interstitial fluid can be known by subtracting this plasma volume of the extracellular fluid. Intercellular fluid can be measured directly because they are separate compartments, different compartments. So by subtracting ECF from the total body water, you can have something. And this body fluids, normally it is in equilibrium, and osmolarity is the force by which it is possible. And the osmose, you can remember 300 milliosmol per kg. It is easy to remember. Then the actual value. By freezing point depression, it can be accurately measured. And I also show that how they are going in different conditions, physiological condition and pathological condition, they can vary, and how they can affect different compartments. So this is this part. Next week we can discuss something related to cell. There may be some overlapping also. It is better we give some information beforehand what I am going, but I am not fixed in my mind. So from next week onwards, and then we can discuss, and if possible, I will give some glimpses in what part we will discuss in the class. That will be better.
Physiology class e ki holo? What is being discussed in physiology class? Early class? Huh? ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা, this week in anatomy we will be discussing some introductory things about the beginning of general embryology, introductory elements of general embryology, not general embryology proper, and some aspects of or some topics of general anatomy. ঠিক আছে? This will be dealt with in this week's lecture class. I think you will be here till Saturday, right? And on Saturday you will leave the campus. Ki? Is it so or not? Huh? You are not leaving the campus. You will be in the campus throughout the month of December, January, naki? 9টা থেকে 11টা ক্লাস দিয়েছে। কি ক্লাস আছে? 9টা থেকে 11টা নেক্সট উইক। হ্যাঁ? লেকচার ক্লাস নেক্সট উইক কোনো ক্লাস হবে না। ক্লাস হবে বলেছে? হ্যাঁ, ওপরে হবে। তা কোন ডিপার্টমেন্ট হবে? 3টে ডিপার্টমেন্ট। ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, হলে ভালো, হলে আমার কোনো আপত্তি নেই, হলে হবে। কারণ নেক্সট উইকে তো পরীক্ষা আছে আমাদের, আউটগোয়িং ব্যাচ। প্র্যাকটিক্যালটা হবে না, অফ। হ্যাঁ, লেকচার ক্লাস হতেই পারে, খুব একটা অসুবিধে নেই। কারণ আমাদের 4 দিন আমরা ফ্রি আছি, আফটার 2 days 4 দিন ফ্রি আছি, 4 দিন নিয়ে নেবে টিচাররা যারা আছে। ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু ব্যাপারটা কি বলতো, সব থেকে যেটা মুশকিল, লেকচার ক্লাসটা রাখা আছে ঠিকই, কিন্তু যারা পরে আসবে, মপ আপ কাউন্সেলিং তো এখনো হয়নি আমাদের এখানে। মপ আপ কাউন্সেলিং মনে হয় 31st। হ্যাঁ না, আজকে সেকেন্ড কাউন্সেলিং এর লাস্ট ডেট শুনলাম। মপ আপ নয়, মপ আপের লাস্ট ডেট আজকে। হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা, আজকে মপ আপের ভর্তি আছে, কালকে থেকে অ্যাডমিশন শুরু হবে। আজকেই? তাহলে ছেলেরা এসে যাবে? না, মপ আপ হলে তো অ্যাডমিশন নিতেই হবে না। মপ আপের মানে তো তাই। তো তোমরাই তো ভালো খবর রাখবে যে মপ আপ। কিন্তু আমি শুনছিলাম আজকে নাকি সেকেন্ড রাউন্ড কাউন্সেলিং, আজকে মপ আপ শেষ। না, সেটা তো সেন্ট্রাল গভর্নমেন্ট থেকে, এনএমসি থেকে তাই বলেছিল। কিন্তু আমাদের স্টেট কি সেটা ফলো করছে? ফলো করছে? ফলো করছে। ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে কি বলতো, গত বছর লাস্ট ইয়ার the students have suffered, তার কারণ মপ আপ কাউন্সেলিং এ ultimately 50% of students have turned up at the end of April. By then we have completed so many things in theory and practical, and we didn't, in anatomy we didn't repeat anything. Especially lecture class যা হয়েছে আমরা কিন্তু কিছু রিপিট করি, কাজে স্টুডেন্টদের কিন্তু ভীষণই অসুবিধা। বুঝেছো? কাজে প্রাইভেট মেডিকেল কলেজে স্টুডেন্ট থাকে না বলে খুব প্রবলেম। গভর্নমেন্ট মেডিকেল কলেজে তো সব এসে গেছে, ওখানে কোর্স পুরো দমে শুরু হয়ে গেছে। বুঝেছো? ওদের ফাউন্ডেশনের সঙ্গে সবকিছু চলছে, ওরা ওয়েল অ্যাহেড, আমাদের থেকে অনেক এগিয়ে গেছে। কিন্তু আমাদের তো উপায় নেই, আমরা যদি হারিয়ে থাকি তাহলে তো ওই বাকি ছেলেরা তো কিছুই হবে না, ইন্ট্রোডাক্টরি কিছু শুনতেই পাবে না। গত বছর যা হয়েছে, তারপর ওরা হারিয়ে গেল, এসে ওরা লিটারালি হারিয়ে গেল, দে আর বিং লস্ট। হ্যাঁ, এবং আলটিমেটলি তারপরে কি হলো, 2 মাস ক্লাস করার পর ওরা আর ক্লাসই করলো না। বুঝেছো? 50% স্টুডেন্টস কিন্তু সবসময় বাঙ্ক করেছে ক্লাস, অল ফর্মস অফ ক্লাস। আমার লাগবে না, প্রবলেম হচ্ছে কেন? কি, ক্যান ইউ হিয়ার মি অর নট? না, মাইক্রোফোন আমি হাতে নিই না, মাইক্রোফোন হাতে নিই না তো, এতেই তো যথেষ্ট। এতদিন তো নিয়েছি, লাস্ট বেঞ্চ পর্যন্ত শোনা গেছে, মাইক্রোফোন হাতে নিয়ে অসুবিধা হয়। হ্যাঁ, তাহলে বি সিটেড, ফ্রন্টে তো খালি আছে। হ্যাঁ, কাম ওভার টু দ্য ফ্রন্ট। কেন পিছনে বসে আছো ভাই? কাজেই 50% স্টুডেন্ট তারপরে বাঙ্ক করেছে, বুঝলে? ইনিশিয়ালি কিছু বুঝতে পারেনি, তারপর পরেও আসেনি। তো হোয়াট উইল হ্যাপেন টু দেম নোবডি নোজ। এই তো আমরা সেমেস্টার নেব, আমার তো মনে হচ্ছে খুব চেষ্টা করেও আমি 30% এর বেশি, মানে অ্যাট দ্য মোস্ট 30% উইল গেট থ্রু। ঠিক আছে, রেস্ট কিন্তু পাস করবে না সেমেস্টার। বুঝেছো? এবার হোয়াট উইল হ্যাপেন ইন দ্য ইউনিভার্সিটি এক্সামিনেশন, দ্যাট দেয়ার হেডেক, নট মাইন। হ্যাঁ, তারপরে 1 মাস সময় পাবে। তো লেট মি সি হোয়াট হ্যাপেন। সো ফার মাই নলেজ গোজ 70% will fail to get through anatomy at least. ঠিক আছে, আমি শিওর 70% পাস করবে না anatomy, বুঝেছো? তো সেটার কারণটা ওই যে বললাম তোমাকে, লাস্ট ইয়ারে কিন্তু ওই একটা প্রবলেম হয়েছিল। তো যাই হোক, এবছর যদি না হয়, ছেলেরা যদি এসে যায় ভালো, দ্যাট উইল বি গুড। তো টুডে and tomorrow there will be 2 classes beginning of general embryology. So to have an embryo, basic necessity is a man must find a woman and they should meet sexually. Since we are bisexual, এখন অবশ্য অনেক কিছু হয়েছে, LGBT অমুক তমুক, তো স্টিল বায়োলজিক্যালি আমরা বাইসেক্সুয়াল বিইংস। Therefore a man must find his partner or a woman should find her partner. The two must meet sexually, and when they will meet, so there is legal bar obviously. The age of meeting in case of women in our country is 18. Age of union for males is 21. So why these ages have been prescribed? Why these ages? Obviously, only after crossing 18, a woman, after crossing the age of 18, will have physical, sexual and psychic maturity to meet a male partner of her choice. Similarly, in case of males, though male chauvinism is there, we think we are mature, we are physically stronger than women, but remember, males are a little laggard. They only attain their physical, sexual and psychic maturity at the age of 21. That is why for males, age of marriage is 21. ঠিক আছে, ভোটার এজ তো একই, হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু মেলেরা কিন্তু ল্যাগার্ড in terms of biological growth and development. That you know from your knowledge of biology, I think. So, after crossing these legally prescribed ages, a man will unite with a woman and there will be, not all the time, but there is every possibility of having an embryo. And that embryo will be within the mother's womb, within the woman's womb. Now to start with, therefore, we need something from the man and something from the woman. From the man we need a sperm, that is the cell which will serve the purpose. From the female we need an ovum, that is the cell which will be shared by the woman. We need a sperm, we need an ovum. So the sperm, the cell, the mature germ cell, it will obviously be derived from an immature one. Similarly, the ovum, the mature germ cell, will be derived from an immature germ cell. So from that immature to mature, this process, in case of sperm, it is being called as spermatogenesis. In case of ovum, that is being called as oogenesis. Therefore, for syngamy to occur, a male gamete must find a female gamete. So before that, we need a male gamete in the form of sperm first and a female gamete in the form of ovum at the onset. Now, this process of having a sperm within the male's testicles, the process is being called as spermatogenesis. the process of having an ovum within the ovaries is being called as oogenesis. Today we will be speaking something about the oogenesis, and tomorrow spermatogenesis will be covered. That's the basic necessity for fertilization to occur. Union of the gametes, which is being called as fertilization. So to ensure fertilization, we need a mature male germ cell in the form of a sperm and a mature female germ cell in the form of an ovum. So to speak about oogenesis, we need a primitive germ cell first. That primitive germ cell is being called as, the name is important for both male and female. That germ cell is being called as primordial germ cell. Primordial germ cell, this term is important. We begin our journey to attain sexual maturity with a primordial germ cell. Now, at which age আমরা oogenesis নিয়ে বলছি, at which age an embryo which will develop as a girl later on, girl and then a woman, at which age in her life it will have that primordial germ cell? At which age? That is important. So the female, the embryo which is destined to give rise to a female child, will be populated in her ovaries. The germ cells will arrive from somewhere else. The story also holds good for males. That means primordial germ cells are not resident cells of the female gonads or the male gonads. To begin with, we need primordial germ cells. To have a gamete, either male or female, we need a primordial germ cell. Primordial germ cell. The final home of this primordial germ cell will obviously, in case of female, will be the female gonad. The female gonad. That a primordial germ cell must find its home in the female, and that is being the female gonad, which is nothing but ovary. In future it will give rise to the ovary. In case of both male and female embryo, the primordial germ cells initially are housed outside the body of the embryo. Outside the body of the embryo. ঠিক আছে? একটা embryonic body আছে. Outside the body of the embryo, we will find a clone of or a cluster of primordial germ cells waiting for the male or female gonads to flourish within the embryonic body. আগে তো বাড়ি হতে হবে, তবে তো গিয়ে ঢুকবে। ঠিক আছে? তাহলে প্রাইমোর্ডিয়াল জার্ম সেলস কিন্তু অনেক আগেই তৈরি হয়ে আছে, অনেক আগেই কিন্তু তৈরি হয়, বাট they are sheltered in a place outside the embryonic body, and that place is nothing but the embryonic yolk sac. ঠিক আছে? the yolk sac বলে একটা বেলুন থাকবে attached with the embryonic body in a manner like this. এই yolk sac আছে, এইটা ধরো embryonic body আছে, this is the embryonic body, this is the yolk sac. এখানে লাইনিং সেলস আছে, এখানে লাইনিং সেলস থাকবে। তাহলে this is the yolk sac in the form of a balloon outside the confines of the embryonic body. Here within the yolk sac cells, lining cells, we will find cellular clusters. We will be finding cellular clusters like this. Cellular clusters like this. We will be finding cellular clusters like this. These clusters are the primordial germ cells. Till the gonads flourish or develop within the embryonic body, the home for the germ cells, they will be waiting there. Now, when the gonads begin to flourish in the embryonic body, they will find their home. Once the gonads are there, their home is ready, they will migrate towards the gonads. The process of migration ইত্যাদি আমি এখন বলবো, ঠিক আছে? Later this will be dealt with. তাহলে from here they will be going there within the embryonic body where the gonads are. Now gonads will be developing, begin to develop and flourish within the embryonic body by the 5th week of development. By the 5th week. এটাও important. 5th week of development. The gonadal development begins. Gonadal development begins. Gonadal development in both the sexes. Gonadal development begins. Now once the home is beginning to be ready, the primordial germ cells will begin migrating towards the home. And finally, they will be settling there. Within cellular clusters, again, within well-defined cellular clusters, within the ovary. আমরা oogenesis নিয়ে বলছি, কাজে আমরা ওভারির কথা বলবো। Within cellular clusters in the developing ovary, ঠিক আছে, they will be settled. তো ধরো ওভারিটা, গোনাড, ফিমেল গোনাডটা এখানে এইরকম মতো আছে, ডর্সাল বডি বলে, দিস ইজ দ্য ফিমেল গোনাড, দিস ইজ দ্য ফিমেল গোনাড অন ওয়ান সাইড। একদিকে ফিমেল গোনাডটাকে আমি এরকম দেখাচ্ছি। ইট ইজ এ মাউন্ট লাইক এলিভেশন, ঠিক আছে? এখনকার জন্য এইটুকু মনে রাখো যে একটা উঁচু ঢিপির মতো, একটা ঢিপি, ঠিক আছে, ডর্সাল বডি বলে, আমরা এটা দেখতে পাই। ইট ইজ এ মাউন্ট লাইক এলিভেশন ইন দ্য ডর্সাল বডি ওয়াল অফ দ্য এমব্রিও। তো this has to be there somehow. Somehow these cells has to be there, primordial germ cells, because this is the final home of them, ঠিক আছে, of these cells. Now upon entering, তাহলে দেখো মনে রাখতে হবে, এখানে যে কথাটা মনে রাখার সেটা হচ্ছে primordial germ cells are really settlers. These are settlers, not residents. True residents are the other things that we find in the ovary. ঠিক আছে, ওভারি বলে যে জিনিসটা আছে সেখানে তো অনেক সেলস আছে, ওভারিয়ান ফলিকলস, ইউ নো। তো those are the true resident cells. These are really migrants. These are migrants, ultimately settled over there, ultimately settling over there because they have to be there, ঠিক আছে, to serve their future function. Therefore, these cells will be going there and ultimately settling within cells developing in the ovary. তো ধরো সেই সেলগুলো ওভারিতে, আমি একটা তোমাকে দেখাচ্ছি ওরকম, ধরো এরকম ভাবে সেলস ডেভেলপ করছে, এরকম সেল ডেভেলপ করবে এইরকম। প্রথমেই কিন্তু এরকম থাকে না, সেসব হিস্ট্রি তুমি পরে জানবে যখন আমরা ডেভেলপমেন্ট অফ ইউরোজেনিটাল সিস্টেম অনেকদিন পরে আমরা যখন পড়াবো, 3-4 মাস পরে আমরা পড়াবো, 3-4 মাস বা তার থেকে বেশি হতে পারে, তখন ইউ উইল গেট টু নো এভরিথিং ডিটেল ইন ডিটেল। তো ফর নাও রিমেম্বার, দেয়ার উইল বি সেলস নেস্ট, সেল নেস্ট তৈরি হবে, ঠিক আছে, অ্যান্ড দিস সেলস আর রিক্রুটেড ভেরি মাচ ফ্রম উইদিন দ্য ওভারি। ওভারি থেকে এই সেলস গুলো রিক্রুটেড হয়, অ্যান্ড উইদিন সাচ সেলস these cells will settle. Initially there will be multiple cells settling. আমি তোমাকে একটা দেখাচ্ছি, একটাই সেল দেখাচ্ছি। Now, once the primordial germ cells settle within that cellular cluster, ঠিক আছে, we have to name this primordial germ cell. আমরা তো অনন্তকাল ধরে primordial germ cell বলতে পারবো না, we have to name them. And we have to name similarly the cell clusters around the primordial germ cell. Now, primordial germ cell, once they settle in the female gonad, the future ovary, they will be called as oogonia. They will be called as oogonia. Now, the primordial germ cells, once they settle in the ovary, they will be termed as oogonia. Oogonia. Plural. Plural e oogonia. তাহলে plenty of oogonia will be there, migrating from this yolk sac, wall, will be going there and settling over there. And once they settle there, surrounded by cells recruited very much from within the ovary, they begin mitotic divisions. And such mitotic divisions will result in too many oogonia populating the ovaries of the developing female embryo. ঠিক আছে, repeated mitotic division হবে. The oogonia will undergo repeated mitotic division and will begin to populate the developing female ovaries. Now, the rapidity of such mitotic divisions is such, that by the 7th month or by the 5th month of development, 5th to 7th month of development, we will be finding almost 7 million oogonia. 7 million. By the 5th month, মনে রেখো, এটা টাইমটা ঠিক, by the 5th month of development, we will find, by the 5th month, we will be finding almost 7 million oogonia. 7 million. By then, now 5th month লিখে রাখো, 5th month, by the 5th month, the oogonia দেখো সেটেল করা শুরু করেছে কখন থেকে? More or less from the 5th to 6th week of development. 5th to 6th week of development থেকে শুরু করলো, ঠিক আছে? By the 5th month, end of 5th month, we will be finding almost 7 million oogonia populating the ovaries, developing ovaries. And surrounding the oogonia, there will be cells recruited from within the ovary. Now, the cells recruited from the ovary is giving rise to a ball-like thing. ঠিক আছে, ball-like thing within which, in the core of which the oogonia are settled. ঠিক আছে? Now, such a follicle, it is obviously in the shape of a follicle. Now, such a follicle, from now on, we can call it as a primordial follicle. As a primordial follicle. Primordial follicle. A primitive follicle. Primordial মানে primitive. Primordial follicle. Now, from now on, the story of development of the germ cells will greatly differ in male and female, in developing male embryo and female embryo. The journey of development of ovum begins very early in a woman's age. আমি সেই জন্য বলছি যে মেয়েরা, ঠিক আছে, অনেক এগিয়ে আছে in the developmental process. তুমি যখন আমরা ডেভেলপমেন্ট পড়াবো, তুমি দেখবে সব সময় নয়, সব জায়গায় নয়, বাট Sexual maturity is a very important thing, and you all know a girl attains her sexual maturity at the age of 12, whereas a boy attains his sexual maturity at the age of 14, average age, at the age of 14. So obviously, girls are matured sexually earlier than the boys. Similarly, physical maturity, the girls will attain more or less by the age of 16, complete bone growth ইত্যাদি হয়ে যায়, whereas males will attain physical maturity only after 18. ঠিক আছে, বুঝেছো? তাহলে সব জায়গায় কিন্তু ফিজিক্যালি সেক্সুয়ালি কিন্তু মেলস পিছিয়ে আছে। সেই জন্য দুঃখ হলেও কিছু করার নেই, তোমার জন্য ম্যারেজেবল এজ হচ্ছে 21। বুঝেছো? তুমি চিরকালই তোমাকে বড়ই হতে হবে বয়সে, কিন্তু অন্য সব ব্যাপারে তুমি বড় কিনা সেটা তোমাকে প্রমাণ করতে হবে at every stage। আজকে সেই যুগ এসে গেছে, বুঝেছো? at every stage you have to prove that I am superior to you, otherwise কিন্তু তুমি ধাক্কা খাবে, তার কারণ বায়োলজিক্যালি ওরা এগিয়ে আছে। আচ্ছা, তাহলে জার্নি will begin earlier in case of females. This zoogonia will not be resting as zoogonia for long. They will begin dividing and giving rise to a highly differentiated progeny, which we cannot call as zoogonia. ঠিক আছে, মাইটোটিক ডিভিশনস হবে, but we will find their progeny different from the oogonia, structurally, functionally. সেল তো সেলই, কিন্তু সেলের ভেতরে তো অনেক মেশিনারি থাকে। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে the progeny of oogonia will be completely different from their parents. ঠিক আছে, now such progeny will be called as primary oocytes. ঠিক আছে, প্রাইমারি oocytes। তাহলে more or less from the 7th month, এটা নিয়ে অনেক ধরো ডিবেট আছে, 7th month কোথাও দেখবে তুমি 5th month, ওটা ম্যাটার করবে না। from the 7th month আমি বলছি, from the 7th month we will be finding most of the oogonia will be replaced by primary oocytes. ঠিক আছে, will be replaced by primary, and the oogonia which will fail to differentiate into primary oocytes, what will happen to them? Their cherished goal of all the oogonia is to give rise to a higher form of offspring. So not all oogonia in that race to give rise to a higher form, some will fail. এটাই নিয়ম পৃথিবী। 150 জন পরীক্ষা দিলে 150 জন তো পাস করবে না। এবার তুমি বলতে পারো স্যার ফেলিওরস আর দ্য পিলার্স অফ সাকসেস, সেটাও সত্য, হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু এক্ষেত্রে কিন্তু পিলার্স অফ সাকসেস হবে না। বুঝেছো? দ্য oogonia who will fail to flourish primary oocytes will simply disappear from the sea, will simply perish, ঠিক আছে, or degenerate। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে not all 7 million oogonia will give rise to primary oocytes, but many such will give rise to primary oocytes. তাহলে soon we will be finding instead of oogonia, the ovaries are populated with primary oocytes। ঠিক আছে, surrounded by a single layer of flat epithelial cell, a single layer of flat follicular cell, a single layer of flat follicular cell। তার চেহারাটা কিরকম হবে? তার চেহারাটা আমি এখানে আঁকছি, দেখো। এই হচ্ছে ফলিকুলার সেলগুলো, এই ফলিকুলার সেলগুলো, এর ভেতরে একটা oocyte এই রকম বসে আছে, এই একটা oocyte বসে আছে, প্রাইমারি oocyte, এই একটা প্রাইমারি oocyte বসে আছে। ঠিক আছে, now this follicle is really a primordial follicle. ঠিক আছে, this is really a primordial follicle with a primary oocyte residing within it. ঠিক আছে, তুমি আগেরটাকেও প্রাইমোডিয়াল ফলিকল বলতে পারো, কোনো মহাভারত অশুদ্ধ হবে না, আবার এটাকেও বলা উচিত। তাহলে দিস ইজ এ প্রাইমোডিয়াল ফলিকল, এ সিঙ্গল লেয়ার অফ ফ্ল্যাট ফলিকুলার সেল অ্যান্ড এ প্রাইমারি oocyte. ঠিক আছে, নাও দিস প্রাইমারি oocyte, তাহলে দেখো প্রাইমারি oocyte হয়ে গেল কি বাই দ্য 7th month. হ্যাঁ, by the 7th month the ovaries will be populated with a higher form, ঠিক আছে, being called as primary oocytes. But in case of male, we are so laggards in our development, I include myself also, we will have only primary spermatocytes after puberty, not before that. After puberty, only after the age of 14 we will have this cell. ওরা কিন্তু কত আগে পেয়ে গেল, বুঝেছো? প্রাইমারি oocyte by the 7th month of intrauterine life, when the girl is still in the form of a fetus. Girl, ঠিক আছে, fetus, sex is female fetus, সেই fetal ফর্মে কিন্তু 7th month the ovaries are populated with primary oocytes. Now a thing will happen to the primary oocytes, which, since the female fetus begins its journey so early, everything ওর পরেই যাচ্ছে কিন্তু, but now a thing will happen which will ultimately, which is not beneficial for the female. ফিমেলের জন্য কিন্তু খুব একটা বেনিফিশিয়াল নয়। এবার একটা ঘটনা ঘটবে, কিন্তু যে ঘটনা ঘটার ছিল, ডেস্টিনি এরকম ভাবেই তৈরি করা আছে, ইভলিউশন, জেনেটিক ব্লুপ্রিন্ট করা আছে, কাজে ঘটনা তো ঘটতেই হবে। ঠিক আছে, কোনো কোনো ঘটনা ভালোর জন্য ঘটে, কোনো কোনো ঘটনা দুর্ঘটনা হয়। ঠিক আছে, দুর্ঘটনা তোকে তো মেনেই নিতে হয়। তো এবার একটা দুর্ঘটনা ঘটবে। ঠিক আছে, তোমার এই যে মেয়ে যারা বসে আছে আমার সামনে, ওদের সকলের জীবনেই এই দুর্ঘটনাটা ঘটেছে। কি দুর্ঘটনা? দ্য প্রাইমারি oocytes, ঠিক আছে, উইল বি রেস্টিভ ইন নেচার, ঠিক আছে, মানে রেস্টলেস, ও বেশিক্ষণ ডরম্যান্ট থাকবে, ছটপট করবে। মেয়েরা ছটপটে হয়, সব মেয়ে নয়, হ্যাঁ, একটু কথা বেশি বলে মেয়েরা, তুমি তো জানো। হ্যাঁ, জানি না আমি সব মেয়ে কথা বেশি বলে কিনা, তো আমার যা অ্যাসাম্পশন, হ্যাঁ, মেয়েরা কথা বেশি বলে, হাই পিচ তো, আবার ওদের কথাটা ভালো শোনাও যায়। ওই যে ছেলেগুলো পেছনে বসে আছে, ওরা কমপ্লেন করছে আমার সম্বন্ধে, আমার কথা নাকি শুনতে পাচ্ছে না, বলছি মাইক্রোফোন হাতে ধরাচ্ছে। তো আমি তো ভাই কে নই, মাইক্রোফোন ধরে আমি স্টেজে নাচতে পারবো না। হ্যাঁ, আমি কে নই, কাজেই আমি এই ভাই এই যে আছে কলার, এতেই ঠিক আছে। তো যাই হোক, ম্যাডামরা যদি কেউ থাকে আমার মতো, যদি ভয়েস থাকে, ম্যাডামরা কিন্তু অনেক ক্ল্যারিটি থাকে, তার কারণ ওদের পিচ হাই পিচ, তো অনেক ক্ল্যারিটি থাকে, যার জন্য দেখবে তুমি ম্যাক্সিমাম যে নিউজ চ্যানেলে যারা অ্যাঙ্কার করে, বেশিরভাগ এখন মেয়েদের নেওয়া। হ্যাঁ, তার কারণ ওদের ক্ল্যারিটি অনেক বেশি, ওদের ভয়েস। তো যাই হোক, প্রাইমারি oocytes will not be resting for long. ঠিক আছে, they will begin what? They will start their first meiotic division. তাহলে not only primary oocytes are being formed, the meiotic division, meiosis 1, meiosis 2, which is so important for the germ cells, that also begins around 7th month of intrauterine life in female fetuses. ঠিক আছে, now the journey begins. Meiosis 1 begins. Meiosis 1 is a relatively long process. ঠিক আছে, prophase is relatively long, having so many stages. So it goes through a stage and then it decides, hey, it's too early, let me stop. বুঝেছো? শুরু করে ফেলেছে, কিন্তু ছটপট করছে, শুরু করে ফেলেছে, বাট দেন ইট থিংস ইটস টু আর্লি, লেট মি স্টপ। তাহলে ইট বিগিনস ইটস প্রোফেস, বাট ইট স্টপস দেয়ার। ঠিক আছে? ইন দ্য আর্লি প্রোফেস ইট উইল স্টপ, and তাহলে প্রোফেস অফ ফার্স্ট মেয়োটিক ডিভিশন উইল বিগিন অ্যারাউন্ড 7th month, এটাও মনে রাখতে হবে। ঠিক আছে? and it stops at the diplotin stage. প্রোফেসের স্টেজ আছে তো, লেপ্টোটিন, প্যাকিটিন, জাইগোটিন, ডিপ্লোটিন, এইসব স্টেজ আছে। ইট স্টপস অ্যাট দ্য ডিপ্লোটিন স্টেজ। তাহলে প্রাইমারি উসাইটস, এই যে প্রাইমারি উসাইট আমি দেখিয়েছি, প্রাইমারি উসাইট it will begin meiosis 1, it will be there, and it will stop at the diplotin stage of prophase. ঠিক আছে? It decides to stop there, and it will be dormant, it will be lying dormant till puberty. It will be lying dormant in this stage, in the diplotin stage of prophase 1. তাহলে মেয়োটিক ডিভিশন ট্রানকেটেড হয়ে গেল, ও কিন্তু দাঁড়িয়ে গেল। এইবার এই যে দাঁড়িয়ে গেল, females, they begin they are earlier in their sexual maturity, physical maturity, আমি এইসব কথা বললাম। তো fortunately or unfortunately their sexual journey begins earlier। ঠিক আছে? they are having the primary oocytes entering into the prophase of first meiotic division, but they decide to stop। ঠিক আছে? এবার স্টপ করলো, করে এইবার দেখো কি সমস্যা তৈরি হবে। হিউম্যান ফিমেলস অর ওম্যান, তার কিন্তু একটা নির্দিষ্ট রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজ আছে। বিয়ন্ড দ্যাট she cannot produce ovum। ঠিক আছে? আফটার মেনোপজ, এগুলো তোমরা বায়োলজিক্যাল সায়েন্স থেকে জানো। ঠিক আছে? আফটার মেনোপজ এ ওম্যান ক্যানট প্রডিউস ওভাম, তাহলে সে কিন্তু ইনফার্টাইল হয়ে গেল। কিন্তু মেলেরা কিন্তু ফার্টিলিটি থাকে অনেক দিন পর্যন্ত। ইট ডিপেন্ডস, ঠিক আছে, আপন দ্য মেল ইন কোশ্চেন, বাট স্টিল এ মেল উইল বি ফার্টাইল টিল ওল্ড এজ। ঠিক আছে? এবার obviously there will be morphological changes, ঠিক আছে, in the sperms, কিন্তু but still a man remains fertile till old age, but a woman sexually becomes infertile after menopause। তাহলে একটা রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজ আছে of a human female। সেই রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজটা কবে? সেই রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজটা পিউবার্টির পর থেকেই শুরু হয়ে যায়। কিন্তু যাই হোক, সেক্সুয়াল ফিজিক্যাল ম্যাচুরিটি আমি বলেই দিয়েছি 18তে, কাজে আমরা ধরে নিই 18 রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজ ইন আওয়ার কান্ট্রি। মোটেই 18 নয়, ক্ল্যান্ডেনস্টাইন করলে কিন্তু মুশকিল আছে। আমি এইভাবেই বলি, কিছু মনে করো না কিন্তু। হ্যাঁ, ইফ ইউ ফাইন্ড সাম, ঠিক আছে, আমি মেয়েদেরই বলবো, হ্যাঁ, ইফ দে ফাইন্ড সাম বয়, ঠিক আছে, and wish to have sex with him earlier, তাহলে কিন্তু প্রবলেম হতে পারে। ঠিক আছে? she can become pregnant। ঠিক আছে? তাহলে সেটা লিগাল এর বাইরে চলে গেল। বুঝেছো? সমস্যা তৈরি হয়। কাজে কিন্তু প্রেগন্যান্ট হওয়ার সুযোগ কিন্তু আছে ফ্রম পিউবার্টি অন, বাট স্টিল ফর দ্য সেক অফ কনভিনিয়েন্স আমরা ম্যারেজেবল এজ 18 থেকে মোরাললেস ধরো 45 to 48 ইন্ডিয়ান উইমেন স্টপ মেনস্ট্রুয়েটিং। ঠিক আছে? মেনস্ট্রুয়েশন বন্ধ হয়ে যায়, and that is being called as menopause। তাহলে 45 থেকে 48 এর ভেতরে রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজ শেষ হয়ে যায়। নাও এই যে রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ পিরিয়ড অফ এ ওম্যানস লাইফ, এটা সম্বন্ধে তোমরা জানো। হ্যাঁ, আগে অনেক কিছু হিডেন ছিল, কিন্তু এখন তো বায়োলজি যারা পড়ছো, বিশেষ করে যারা বায়োলজি পড়ে না তারা অবশ্য এত জানে না। হ্যাঁ, আমি জানি না তারা এখন কতটা জানে, এখন তো সোশ্যাল মিডিয়ার যুগ, এখন অনেক ভালো জানে, কিন্তু আমাদের জমানায়ও আমরা জানতাম মনে হয়, কিন্তু আমার বাবাদের জমানায় কতটা জানতো আমার জানা নেই। হ্যাঁ, কারণ বাবাকে তো এইসব নিয়ে জিজ্ঞেস করা যায় না, বুঝেছ? মানে আমি তারা সত্যি কথা বলছি। কাজে আজ থেকে ধরো 50-70 বছর আগে, হ্যাঁ, ওমেন্স বায়োলজি নিয়ে মেলসরা কতটা জানতো ঠিক নেই। হ্যাঁ, কিছু তো জানতোই, হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু সব জানতো না, মানে হাফ হার্টেড ট্রুথ জানতো, হ্যাঁ, পুরোটা জানতো। যার জন্য আর্লি ম্যারেজ ছিল, ইত্যাদি ছিল, অনেক সব সমস্যা হতো আর্লি ম্যারেজের। তো যাই হোক, এইবার কথা হচ্ছে যে পিউবার্টিতে শুরু হলো, a girl begins a unique thing which is unthinkable in case of a male. হ্যাঁ, একটা ইউনিক থিং। Initially she shuddered to find blood coming out from the vagina. ঠিক আছে, obviously blood coming out from the vagina, blood, রক্ত তো দেখলে ভয় লাগে, তাহলে initially a girl will be shuddered. তো দেন পেরেন্টস অ্যান্ড আদার্স আছে, ঠিক আছে, তারা বলবে নো দিস ইজ নর্মাল, হ্যাঁ, ইউ আর এ গার্ল, দিস ইজ এ গুড থিং, ইউ আর হ্যাভিং ব্লাড ইচ মান্থ, কোপ উইথ দ্যাট ইত্যাদি বলে শান্ত করে দেবে। তাহলে এ গার্ল বিগিনস মেনস্ট্রুয়েটিং মানে দ্য গার্ল হ্যাজ অ্যাটেন্ড দ্য গার্ল বায়োলজি, the girl has attained the age of reproduction. ঠিক আছে, she will be able to reproduce, ঠিক আছে, from puberty onwards, and from at each month she will be menstruating. প্রত্যেক মাসে, unless there is some pathological reason, she will be menstruating. So menstruation, the blood is coming from uterus, that we all know. জানি না, উই অল নো বলছি মানে আমি জানি, তোমরা কতটা জানো আমার জানা নেই। হ্যাঁ জানো, আমি জানি, বায়োলজিতে পড়ানো হয়, ঠিক আছে। মেনস্ট্রুয়েশনের দুটো সাইকেল আছে, ওয়ান অফ দ্য সাইকেল ইনভলভস দ্য অল ইম্পর্টেন্ট ওভারিজ, তাকে আমরা বলি ওভারিয়ান সাইকেল, ঠিক আছে। ওভারিয়ান সাইকেল ইজ দ্য মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্ট থিং বিকজ ইট ইজ দ্য ওভারি, ঠিক আছে, ইট ইজ দ্য ফলিকুলার সেলস, ইট ইজ দ্য থিকাল সেলস which will give rise to the hormones, ঠিক আছে, that will induce changes in the uterus. But what is manifest is something from the uterus, but the controller is ovaries, এবং তার উপরে কন্ট্রোলার পিটুইটারি, মাস্টার গ্ল্যান্ড অফ দ্য এন্ডোক্রিন অর্কেস্ট্রা, ঠিক আছে। তাহলে পিটুইটারি গোনাডাল অ্যাক্সিস যদি ফেল করে, তাহলে আমরা এই চেঞ্জ দেখতে পাবো না, প্রাইমারি অ্যামেনোরিয়া হয়ে যাবে, বুঝেছো। পিটুইটারি থেকে যদি সিগন্যাল না আসে from puberty onwards to the ovaries, ovaries will fail to produce estrogen, progesterone in requisite amounts. তাহলে uterine endometrium will fail to give rise to changes, we will miss the uterine cycle. ওভারি তো কাজ করছে, তাহলে there will be absence of menstruation, যাকে আমরা বলি প্রাইমারি অ্যামেনোরিয়া, ঠিক আছে। ডেঞ্জারাস জিনিস, বুঝেছো। তো যাই হোক, ফিমেল স্টেরিলিটির একটা অন্যতম কারণ, তো তার জন্য ডাক্তারবাবুরা আছে, এখন অনেক সাধন আছে, অনেক কিছুই করা যাচ্ছে। তো যাই হোক, এবার তাহলে ফ্রম পিউবার্টি টিল মেনোপজ, ইচ মান্থ দ্য ওম্যান ইজ হ্যাভিং এ ওভেরিয়ান সাইকেল, simultaneously a uterine cycle. In the ovarian cycle, in the middle of the ovarian cycle, more or less, there is an event being called as ovulation. Ovulation. That event is very important. ঠিক আছে? At that event, ovulation, a mature follicle with a progeny, ঠিক আছে, a progeny of the germ cell in question, a mature follicle with an appropriate progeny of the germ cell in question, female germ cell, যেটা দিয়ে আমরা শুরু করেছিলাম, will be shed off from the ovary, will be shed off from the ovary. Now that thing ওভারিটা ফাটিয়ে যখন বেরিয়ে এলো, দ্য ফলিকল, ঠিক আছে, উইথ এ উসাইট, আমি বলেই দিই যেটা বেরিয়ে আসবে সেটা ওভাম নয়, সেকেন্ডারি উসাইট, ঠিক আছে। তাহলে ফলিকল উইথ এ সেকেন্ডারি উসাইট উইদিন ইট, এ রাইট ফলিকল with a secondary oocyte within it will burst out through the ovarian surface, ঠিক আছে, and that event is being called as ovulation, and that is very important from the point of view of formation of an embryo, because unless we find a receiver, ওভামটাকে যদি না পায় তাহলে স্পার্মের তো কোনো লাভ নেই, ঠিক আছে, ইট হ্যাজ টু ফাইন্ড অ্যান ওভাম, ঠিক আছে। তাহলে ওভিউলেশনে দ্য ওভাম মানে ওই সেকেন্ডারি oocyte along with the follicle will be shed off from the surface of the ovary. Now remember, not each cycles in a female's reproductive lifespan, not all the cycles will be ovulated, সব সাইকেলে কিন্তু আমি ওভাম নাও পেতে পারি, তাহলে মাঝে মাঝে কিন্তু অ্যানওভিউলেটরি সাইকেলসও হতে পারে, বুঝেছো। ওভাম তৈরি হলো না, ঠিক আছে, ওভাম তৈরি হলো না ন্যাচারাল কোর্সে, সাম অফ দ্য সাইকেলস মে বি অ্যানওভিউলেটরি, বুঝেছো। যার জন্য এই বাচ্চা হওয়ার সময়টা, ঠিক আছে, টু হ্যাভ এ বেবি আফটার ম্যারেজ আনপ্রেডিক্টেবল। কেউ ম্যারেজের পরেই কনসিভ করে গেল, বুঝেছো, কেউ আফটার ট্রায়ালস ফর লং আসছে না বেবি, বুঝেছো। তার কারণ আমরা তো বায়োলজিক্যাল বিং, কাজে আমরা তো ভেতরে কি হচ্ছে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, তাহলে তখন উই হ্যাভ টু সিক ওপিনিয়ন, তাই না, ডাক্তারের ওপিনিয়ন নিতে চলে যায়, হ্যাঁ, হাজব্যান্ড ওয়াইফ, ডাক্তার অ্যাকর্ডিংলি অ্যাডভাইস করে। তাহলে মনে রাখতে হবে নট অল দ্য সাইকেলস উইল বি ওভিউলেটেড, অ্যানওভিউলেটরি সাইকেলসও কিন্তু হতে পারে। এবার এই ওভিউলেশনকে আর্টিফিশিয়ালি আমি বন্ধ করতে পারি, ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, আর্টিফিশিয়ালি আমি বন্ধ করতে পারি, অ্যানওভিউলেটরি করে দিতে পারি সাইকেলসকে, তাহলে কোনো চান্স নেই কি হওয়ার, বাংলায় বাচ্চা হওয়ার, ঠিক আছে, অ্যানওভিউলেটরি করে দিতে পারি। তো সেটা আমাদের দেশে ফ্যামিলি প্ল্যানিং, ফ্যামিলি ওয়েলফেয়ার প্রোগ্রাম আছে, ফ্যামিলি প্ল্যানিং না বলে ফ্যামিলি ওয়েলফেয়ার বলা ভালো। ফ্যামিলি ওয়েলফেয়ার প্রোগ্রামে ম্যারিড ওম্যানদের ওসিডি দেয়া হয়, ঠিক আছে, ইউজুয়ালি ফার্স্ট ইস্যুর আগে দেওয়া হয় না, ফার্স্ট ইস্যুর পরে, ঠিক আছে। আমরা ওরাল পিল দিই, ওরাল কন্ট্রাসেপটিভ ডিভাইস অ্যাডভাইস করা হয়, তার মানে তার মধ্যে ওসিপি খুব কমন, ওরাল কন্ট্রাসেপটিভ পিল উইল মেক দ্য ওম্যান অ্যানওভিউলেটেড, মেনস্ট্রুয়েশন হবে, কিন্তু ওভাম উইল নট বি এ ম্যাচিওর ওভাম, এ সেকেন্ডারি oocyte উইথ এ রাইট ফলিকল উইল নট বি দেয়ার, কাজেই সমস্যা নেই, ওভাম না থাকলে সমস্যা নেই, ঠিক আছে। আমার এ নেই, ক্ষমতা নেই বা ইচ্ছে নেই, হ্যাঁ, টু হ্যাভ অ্যান অফস্প্রিং সো আর্লি, আমি ডিসাইড করতেই পারি, ঠিক আছে। মানে তুমি আমার ক্লাসে, এর আগে হয়তো বায়োলজিতেও অ্যাডাল্ট হয়েছো, কিন্তু আমার ক্লাসে আরো বেশি করে অ্যাডাল্ট হবে, তার কারণ ইউ হ্যাভ ক্রস দ্য এজ অফ 18, কাজেই তুমি অলরেডি ডাক্তারিতে ঢুকে পড়েছো, কাজেই তোমাকে তো অ্যাডাল্ট আমাকে বানাতেই হবে, কাজেই আমি তোমাকে যা বলবো এ সবই তো তোমার লাইফ লেসন, এগুলো জানতেই হয়। তাহলে from puberty till menopause a woman will menstruate unless other pathology is there each month. তাহলে why a woman is menstruating each month? menstruationটা হচ্ছে কিন্তু to have that vision in mind, ঠিক আছে, ওটা মেয়েটা চাক আর না চাক, ওর যে জেনেটিক ব্লুপ্রিন্ট আছে সেই কিন্তু ওকে ডিকটেট করছে, ওর বায়োলজি, যে ইউ শুড প্রিপেয়ার ইউর ইউট্রাস ফর দ্য বিং, ফর দ্য অফস্প্রিং। তোমার তো ইউট্রাস বলে একটা অর্গান দিয়েছি, ইউনিক অর্গান, which is having with you and you only, তাহলে prepare it as the home for the offspring, because you have to be a mother. You have to be a mother. You have to build a home for the offspring. তাহলে ইউট্রাইন যে সাইকেলটা আছে, ইউট্রাইন সাইকেলটার মূল উদ্দেশ্য কিন্তু বাড়ি তৈরি, মোটেই মেনস্ট্রুয়েশনে ইচ সাইকেলে ব্লাড অ্যান্ড টিস্যু সেট করা নয়, বুঝেছো? বাড়ি তৈরি। এবার বাড়ি যখন তৈরি হলো না, তখন দ্য ইউট্রাস উইপস, দ্য ইউট্রাস উইপস অ্যান্ড দ্য উইপিং কামস আউট অ্যাজ ব্লাড, চোখের জলের পরিবর্তে ইন দ্য ফর্ম অফ ব্লাড। যে তুমি আমাকে তো আমার রিকুইজিট এলিমেন্ট দিলে না, কাজী ইউট্রাস, এটা আমাদের স্যার বলেছে, আমাদের, আমি যার কাছে ফিজিওলজি পড়েছি সেই ফিজিওলজি স্যার বলেছিলেন, উইপিং অফ দ্য এন্ডোমেট্রিয়াম, উইপিং অফ দ্য এন্ডোমেট্রিয়াম ম্যানিফেস্টস ইটসেলফ ইন দ্য ফর্ম অফ টিস্যু ডেব্রিজ অ্যান্ড ব্লাড ফ্রম দ্য ইউট্রাস, বুঝেছো? তাহলে ইচ সাইকেলে আমরা পাচ্ছি, দেখো ইউজেনেসিস আমি শেষ করতে পারছি না কিন্তু, তো যাই হোক গল্প করেই পড়াই, ইন্ট্রোডাক্টরি ক্লাস। তো এবার যেটা আমি বলতে চাই সেটা হচ্ছে পিউবার্টি থেকে ইচ সাইকেলে বেরোবে। এবার দেখো, এবার কতগুলো কথা অ্যাবসলিউট টার্ম তোমাকে বলতে হবে। তাহলে আমরা 7th মান্থে কি দেখেছিলাম? 7 মিলিয়ন উগোনিয়া, ঠিক আছে, ইন দ্য ওভারিজ অফ এ ফিমেল ফিটাস। Around the 7th month or from the 7th month, oogonia begin transforming into primary oocytes, and primary oocytes enter the prophase of first meiotic division, arrested in the diplotin stage. Now, what is the absolute number of follicles with primary oocytes in a female child at birth? সেটা কিন্তু drastically reduced হয়ে যায়, ঠিক আছে? আমি তোমাকে আগেই বলেছি যে নট অল উগোনিয়া will find a primary oocyte as a progeny. They will be destroyed, they will undergo degeneration. Similarly, all the primary oocytes cannot be there, too many, এত তো দরকার নেই, নেচার সব জানে, কাজেই নেচার will allow a good number of them to undergo degeneration. Therefore, at birth we find more or less populating the ovaries of a girl, female child, 7 lakh primary oocytes. 7 million থেকে 7 lakh, 10 times reduction করে দেবে। এবার এই ঘটনা তুমি দেখবে এমব্রিওলজিতে অনবরত ঘটতে থাকবে। তো this is being called as programmed apoptosis in embryology. Programmed apoptosis, এই টার্মটাও মনে রাখবে, এটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট টার্ম, programmed apoptosis। Programmed apoptosis, এটা throughout embryology you will find, অনেক কিছু তৈরি হবে, তার থেকে আমরা ছেটে দেবো, ঠিক আছে? প্রোগ্রাম সেল ডেথ হয়, কারণ প্রোগ্রাম সেল ডেথ না হলে চলবে না, অতগুলো নিয়ে আমি কি করব? তাহলে at birth 7 lakh primary oocytes arrested in the diplotin stage of first meiotic division within a primordial follicle we will find. Now, this will continue till puberty, but by the time a girl attains puberty, her ovaries will contain not 7 lakh but only 40,000 primordial follicles with the primary oocyte, ঠিক আছে? 40,000 থাকবে, বাকিরা ডিজেনারেট করে যাবে in the course of a child's development, ঠিক আছে? ওভারি কিন্তু সাইজে বাড়বে, obvious, এটা একটা গার্ল চাইল্ড অ্যাট বার্থ যে ওভারি, পিউবার্টিতে গিয়ে তো সেই সাইজ থাকবে না, ওভারি বাড়ছে, আদার টিস্যুস, ইট হ্যাজ টু গিভ প্লেস টু দ্য আদার টিস্যুস, ঠিক আছে? it has to create space for the future follicles, which will tend to grow to a huge size. অনেক বড় বড় ফলিকলসকে হাউস করতে হবে, কাজে ওভারিকে তো বাড়তে হবে, আর অপ্রয়োজনীয় জিনিস সরিয়ে দিতে হবে। তাহলে at puberty there will be 40,000 primary oocytes waiting. Now in each cycle how many of these primordial follicles with the primary oocyte will begin their journey to produce an ovum? রিক্রুটমেন্ট আছে, এই রিক্রুটমেন্টটা হ্যাপাজার্ড নয়, সুন্দর রিক্রুটমেন্ট প্রসেস। নেচার ঠিক করে দিয়েছে যে জেনেটিক ব্লুপ্রিন্ট আছে, যে আমি প্রত্যেক মাসে প্রত্যেকটা সাইকেলে, ঠিক আছে, I will recruit from my assembly of 40,000 follicles, I will recruit only 15 to 20. 15 to 20 follicles will begin to grow. ঠিক আছে? Now out of these 15 to 20 follicles, they will begin to grow in each cycle. In the follicular phase আছে, আর একটা ফেজ কি, আর একটা হচ্ছে সিক্রেটারি ফেজ। ফলিকুলার ফেজ, সিক্রেটারি ফেজ। আর ইউটেরাইন সাইকেলের ক্ষেত্রে আমরা কি বলি? ইউটেরাইন সাইকেলের ফেজের নাম জানো? প্রলিফারেটিভ ফেজ। আর তারপরের ফেজটা কি সিক্রেটারি ফেজ বলে কি? হ্যাঁ, লিউটিয়াল। না, লিউটিয়াল ফেজটা ওভারিয়ান সাইকেল। ওভারিয়ান সাইকেলে হচ্ছে ফলিকুলার ফেজ, লিউটিয়াল ফেজ। আর ইউটেরাইন সাইকেলে হচ্ছে প্রলিফারেটিভ ফেজ, সিক্রেটারি ফেজ, তারপরে মেনস্ট্রুয়েশন। ঠিক আছে, মেনস্ট্রুয়াল ফেজ। তাহলে এই আছে। তাহলে ফলিকুলার ফেজে ট্রিমেন্ডাস গ্রোথ হবে of the 15 to 20 follicles. কিন্তু দেখো, destiny of the follicles is such, again it is being dictated by the genetic blueprint. Everything কিন্তু chromosomes, genes কিন্তু dictate করছে। And what is being dictated? যে not all of you will reach the terminal point. Only one in the race, এটা একটা রেস, 100 মিটার স্প্রিন্ট, বুঝেছো? কেবলমাত্র উসাইন বোল্টই জিতবে, একজনকেই জিততে হবে। অটো ফিনিশ হলেও একজনই ফার্স্ট হবে, দুজন ফার্স্ট হয় না। এখন টেকনোলজি অ্যাডভান্স করে গেছে, ফ্র্যাকশন অফ এ সেকেন্ড একজন এগিয়ে যায়। তাহলে একজনই কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি রাইট ফলিকল অর গ্রাফিয়ান ফলিকলের জন্ম দেবে। ঠিক আছে? তাহলে রেস্ট উইল আন্ডারগো চেঞ্জেস ফলোইং ওভিউলেশন। ঠিক আছে? এবার এই যে ফলিকল, রাইট ফলিকল অর গ্রাফিয়ান ফলিকল, এই ফলিকলটা কি বেরিয়ে আসে? নো, ফলিকলটা কিন্তু বেরিয়ে আসে না অ্যাট ওভিউলেশন। ফলিকলের একটা অংশ বেরিয়ে আসে, বুঝেছো? এটা পড়েছো, এগুলো পড়েছো বায়োলজিতে? হ্যাঁ, না, কর্পাস লুটিয়াম হয়ে যায় ফলিকলটা। ফলিকলটার ফেট হচ্ছে কর্পাস লুটিয়াম, আর বাকিটা ওইটার নাম কি? ওটা হচ্ছে সেকেন্ডারি oocyte সারাউন্ডেড বাই কিউমুলাস উফোরাস। কিউমুলাস উফোরাস, ওই যে ফলিকুলার সেলস আছে সারাউন্ডিং, সব সময় কিন্তু ও হচ্ছে প্রেশাস লিটল থিং, সেকেন্ডারি oocyte, প্রেশাস লিটল থিং। ওই তো জন্মদাতা, তাহলে ওর জন্য আমি ঘর করেছি, সবকিছু করেছি, তাহলে ফলিকুলার সেলস গুলোকে এত তাড়াতাড়ি নষ্ট করবো কেন? তাহলে একটা রিং অফ ফলিকুলার সেলস থাকবে, তার নাম হচ্ছে কিউমুলাস উফোরাস। কিউমুলাস উফোরাস, ঠিক আছে? টু প্রোটেক্ট অর শিল্ড দ্য সেকেন্ডারি oocyte ফ্রম এনভায়রনমেন্টাল হ্যাজার্ডস। ওভারি থেকে বেরিয়ে এলো, ওভারি তো খুব সিকিউর হোম ছিল। ফর লং the follicles grow and mature within the ovary. বাইরের জগতে বেরিয়ে আসছে, নেকেড বার করলে তো হবে না, সেকেন্ডারি oocyte-কে একটা সারাউন্ডিং জিনিস দিয়ে আমরা বার করব। সেই সারাউন্ডিং জিনিসের সঙ্গে আরো জিনিস থাকে প্রোটেকশনের জন্য। নাম বলো? না না, এই যে সেকেন্ডারি উসাইট, এই যে প্রাইমারি উসাইট অ্যারেস্টেড ইন দ্য ডিপ্লোটিন স্টেজ কমপ্লিট করবে। ফার্স্ট মেয়োটিক ডিভিশন ইট উইল কমপ্লিট। ফার্স্ট মেয়োটিক ডিভিশনের পরে দুটো সেল হবে, হ্যাপ্লয়েড ক্রোমোজোম কন্টেন্ট বাট ডিপ্লয়েড ডিএনএ কন্টেন্ট। তার ফলে মেয়োসিস 2 হবে, হ্যাপ্লয়েড ক্রোমোজোম কন্টেন্ট উইথ হ্যাপ্লয়েড ডিএনএ কন্টেন্ট মেয়োসিস 2 তে। তো মেয়োসিস 2 তো কমপ্লিট হয়নি, সেকেন্ডারি উসাইট বসে আছে অ্যারেস্টেড ইন মেটাফেজ। এই যখন উসাইটটা যখন গ্রো করছে এবং ডেভেলপ করছে, between the follicular cells, cumulus sporus, and the oocyte membrane, plasma membrane, আর কিছু তৈরি হয়? আর কি তৈরি হয় বলো, ওটা খুব ভীষণ ইম্পর্টেন্ট। হ্যাঁ বলো। হ্যাঁ, জোনা পেলুসিডা, ইয়েস, জোনা পেলুসিডার নাম বলতেই হবে, ওটাই তো হার্ড শেল। মুরগির ডিম, হাঁসের ডিম, বাইরে একটা হার্ড শেল থাকে না? জোনা পেলুসিডা is nothing but that hard shell. বুঝেছো? Its formation is influenced by the surrounding follicular cells as also by the oocyte. ঠিক আছে? oocyte এবং follicular cells symbiotic relationship আছে, একটা আর একটাকে হেল্প করে to give rise to that protective shield being called as zona pellucida during the follicular phase of development. এই ফলিকলস যখন ডেভেলপ করছে তার সঙ্গে উসাইট ডেভেলপ করছে, জোনা পেলুসিডাটা তৈরি। বুঝেছো? আচ্ছা, তাহলে যেটা আমি বলছিলাম সেটাই চলে আসি, বাস বলে ছেড়ে দেবো। তাহলে ইনিচ সাইকেল 40,000 বসে আছে। 40,000-এ লাগবে কটা? না, একটা ইনিচ সাইকেল একটা। এবার হিসেব করো, একটা মেয়ের রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ এজ রাফলি ধরে রাখো 30 থেকে 35 বছর। তাহলে 30 বছর বা 35 বছর যদি হয়, কটা সাইকেল হবে? ধরো মাঝখানে প্রেগন্যান্সি হলো না, তাহলে কটা হবে? 400 থেকে 450। 400 থেকে 450 ফলিকল হলেই একটা মেয়ের 30 থেকে 35 বছর হয়ে যায়, দিব্যি চলে যায়। আমি একটা রিডান্ডেন্ট হিউজ পুল রেখেছি 40,000, যাতে করে মিস না হয়। বুঝেছ? তার কারণ ওটা হচ্ছে $1 বিলিয়ন, ওভামটা হচ্ছে $1 বিলিয়ন টু এ ওম্যানস লাইফ। তাহলে সেই ওভামটা তৈরি করতে হবে, তার জন্য 40,000 আমি রেখে দিয়েছি ওয়েটিং, লাগবে কিন্তু মাত্র 400। বুঝেছ? এবার লাগবে 400, কিন্তু সেই একটার জন্য কতগুলো লাগাচ্ছি? 15 থেকে 20টাকে আমি রেডি করছি টু গিভ রাইজ টু দ্য গ্রাফিয়ান ফলিকল। ঠিক আছে? তারপরেও অনেক থেকে যাবে। ঠিক আছে, যাই হোক, হিসেব করো তাহলে বুঝতে পারবে। তাহলে এই হচ্ছে মোটামুটি এই দাঁড়ালো। এইবার তাহলে ধরো এ ওম্যান আনফর্চুনেটলি fails to marry in her earlier age, decides to marry, যেটা এখন জাপান, কোরিয়া এসব জায়গায় খুব হচ্ছে, decides to marry later in her reproductive age, মানে past 35, past 38, even past 40, she decides to marry. So if she decides to marry, then what will happen? The primary oocyte, ঠিক আছে, ফলিকলে আছে, অ্যারেস্টেড ইন দ্য, নষ্ট হয়ে যায়নি, 40,000 আছে তো, প্রাইমারি oocyte অ্যারেস্টেড ইন দ্য ডিপ্লোটিন স্টেজ অফ প্রোফেজ 1। 40 বছর বয়সে গিয়ে বা 41 বছর বয়সে গিয়ে ইট স্টার্টস ম্যাচিউরিং। ঠিক আছে, ইন দ্য ফলিকল। সো লং ইট রিমেন্স ডরম্যান্ট। ঠিক আছে, এতদিন ধরে, জন্মের আগে শুরু হয়েছে যার জীবন, সে 40 বছর বয়স পর্যন্ত তাকে ওয়েট করতে হবে, কত দিন মাস কেটে গেল। তাহলে দেয়ার ইজ এভরি পসিবিলিটি অফ ক্রোমোজোমাল অ্যাবার্শন। বুঝেছো? কাজেই ক্রোমোজোমাল অ্যাবারেশনের জন্য যে সমস্ত জিনিস আছে তার গ্রস ক্রোমোজোমাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি হয়ে যায়। And such gross chromosomal abnormality in number or in structure, gross chromosomal abnormality is detrimental for the growing embryo and kaji what will happen? Miscarriage. Early in pregnancy, miscarriage is very common in females past 35-30. It is very difficult to become pregnant. Normally, natural. বুঝেছো? যদিও বা প্রেগন্যান্সি যদি কন্টিনিউ করে, মিসক্যারেজ হলো না, আল্ট্রাসাউন্ড করে মিডওয়েতে দেখা গেল কনজেনিটাল ম্যালফরমেশন। কনজেনিটাল ম্যালফরমেশন কাজে সে বাচ্চাকে তো রাখা যাবে না, বুঝেছো? She has to abort. মেডিকেল টার্মিনেশন অফ প্রেগন্যান্সি অ্যাক্টের ভেতরেই আছে। এবার ধরো আল্ট্রাসোনোগ্রাফি মিস করে গেল, এরকম হতে পারে, অনেক কনজেনিটাল অ্যাবনর্মালিটি আছে, আল্ট্রাসাউন্ড মিস করে, ঠিক আছে? তাছাড়া তোমার যত তুমি অ্যাজ ওয়ান ইজ এজিং, ফিমেল এজিং যখন হচ্ছে, প্রেগন্যান্সি ইটসেলফ, ঠিক আছে, ক্যান ক্রিয়েট, which is a physiological process. Pregnancy তো pathological process নয়, physiological process, but it can be pathological as one advances in age. কাজেই সেই জন্য বিয়ে যদি করতেই হয়, একেবারে তাড়াতাড়ি নয়, আমি কাউকে বলবো না কেরিয়ার না করে বিয়ে করতে, কিন্তু তাড়াতাড়ি বিয়ে করাটা ভালো বিয়ে, ঠিক আছে? তার মানে নিশ্চয়ই 18 বছরে বিয়ে করা নয়। যারা এখন পড়াশোনা করছে কেন 18 বছরে বিয়ে করছে, কোনো প্রশ্নই নেই। কিন্তু বেস্ট এজ হচ্ছে 25-30, ঠিক আছে? এটা মেয়েরা আমার থেকে ভালো জানে, কারণ আমার অনেক পিজি স্টুডেন্ট ফার্স্ট চান্সে পিজি পেয়ে গেছে। আমি তাকে অনেক বুঝিয়েছিলাম যে দেখ পিজি কোর্স তুমি করছো, এখন পিজি কোর্সের সময় আমি তুই খুব একটা বলি না স্টুডেন্টদের, তা তুমি তো পিজি করছো, তা এখন তুমি ইস্যু নিও না, বুঝলে? তোমার পড়াশোনাটা কে শোনে আমার কথা, ও তো পড়ে নিয়েছে, না ও তো জানে যে আর্লিয়ার আমি নিলে আমার সুবিধা হবে, কারণ পিজি কোর্স মানে 3 বছর, তার দমও আছে। আমি একটা মেয়েকে দেখেছিলাম, এরকম ছোটখাটো মেয়ে, সরিতা কুমারী বলে, বিহারে, বিরাট দম, এখন এমস পাটনায় আছে, হ্যাঁ, এমস পাটনায় চাকরি করছে, বুঝেছো? উইথ দ্যাট ইস্যু, ছোট্ট মেয়ে, বুঝেছো, প্রেগন্যান্ট, টার্মে চলে এসছে, পিজি কোর্স তো, ও তো ছুটি নিতে পারে না অত, বুঝেছো, টার্মে চলে এসছে। ওকে দেখে আমাদের দুঃখ হতো যে বেচারিকে আসতে হচ্ছে, বুঝেছো, টার্ম প্রেগন্যান্সির কাছাকাছি। তারপরে ইস্যু হলো, তারপরে মাঝখানে ওর হাজব্যান্ড ভীষণ অসুস্থ হলো, সেও ডাক্তার, সব কাটিয়ে পাঠিয়ে সরিতা কুমারী এখন এমস পাটনায় দিব্যি চাকরি করছে। এতদিনে বাই নাও হয়তো অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসরও হয়ে গেছে, বুঝেছো? তা আমি অনেকগুলো মেয়েকে দেখেছি আমার সঙ্গে, অনেক, আমি ওদের প্রত্যেককেই বলেছি, হ্যাঁ, ডোন্ট গেট ম্যারিড। কে শোনে আমার? ছেলেরা মোটামুটি শুনেছে, তবে একটা ছিল মহা পাকা, হ্যাঁ, সেটা অবশ্য বিয়ে করে, বুঝেছো, বিয়ে করে দিল, তো ছেলেদের তো অসুবিধা নেই, বিয়ে করে দিল, তাতে কি আছে, হ্যাঁ, আলটিমেটলি দ্য চাইল্ড উইল বি বোর্ন বাই দ্য লেডি, হ্যাঁ। তো ঠিক আছে, আজকের মতো এখানেই থাক, কালকে যিনি পড়ান স্পার্মাটোজেনেসিস হবে, ঠিক আছে? সেটা মনে রাখো। এইগুলো তোমরা আগেই পড়েছো, এগুলো তোমরা আগেই জানো, আমি ইনপুট আরো কিছু দিলাম, ঠিক আছে? দ্যাটস
right? Okay, moving to next slide. So principle, what is the principle of this today's practical? The principle of measuring blood pressure by sphygmomanometer is simply by balancing the air pressure and the pressure inside the aneroid device where there are some metal bellows, right? So read it out. The principle of measuring blood pressure by a sphygmomanometer involves the balancing of air pressure inside the cuff and the pressure of blood in the brachial artery. The air pressure being estimated by a mercury manometer in mercury sphygmomanometer and mechanical system of metal bellows in aneroid sphygmomanometer. So This is your annualized sphygmomanometer. We have some insight. You need to know the details of this inside mechanism. So inside there are some metal bellows and the pressure is balanced with the air pressure inside the cuff. And if it is Marconi sphygmomanometer, you just balance the Marconi column, pressure of the Marconi column with the air pressure inside the cuff, right? So in Marconi sphygmomanometer, just this device, this analoid dial, it is replaced by a Marconi column, right? Otherwise, everything will remain same. Okay. So, for the measurement of blood pressure, what are the things required? Okay, please listen. No need to write because I can share the PPT to you. Okay. So, apparatus, analoid sphygmomanometer. Next is stethoscope and chair and couch. Right? Very simple. So, which one is analoid sphygmomanometer and which one is Marconi sphygmomanometer? On your left, it is analoid sphygmomanometer. On your right side, it is Marconi sphygmomanometer. So, all the remaining tubings, this is called inflator, right? This is called inflator. You inflate the cuff, right? So, this is the inflator. Inflator, the tubings, everything is same. Only the dial is replaced. Analoid type dial, it is replaced by the Marconi column. Okay. Now, the adult size cuff dimension you need to remember. Okay, it is asked very frequently. Okay, so for blood pressure measurement, there is a central authority. Okay, and we obey all the guidelines given by them. So, what are those two organizations? One is AHA, that is called American Heart Association, and another is ESH, or European Society of Hypertension. Okay, so these two organizations are nodal authority. They give us all the guidelines. Okay, what should be the dimension of cuff for measuring blood pressure in an adult patient, for measuring blood pressure in a pediatric patient, for measuring blood pressure in a newborn or neonate, right? So all the dimensions you don't need to remember, but at least do remember the adult size. So which is 12 into 26. This is the dimension of the cuff bladder. Remember, this is the dimension of cuff bladder and not the fabric, right? The bladder is inside. So, if I take the bladder out, so this is the bladder. Okay, I can't take it out because it's stitched. So, inside we have this bladder, right? Okay, this green colored bladder, it is rectangular and the dimension is 12 into 26 centimeter for adult. Okay, and so very often what happens during examination, when your examiner asks you the bladder size, so you think that this is this dimension, this and this. Okay, so this is not the bladder, this is the fabric. Okay. So no one will ask you the dimension of this fabric, but only the bladder inside. Okay. Okay. So do remember the standard size for most adult, which is 12 centimeter into 26 centimeter. Again, these dimensions are given by your AHA, American Heart Association, and ESH, European Society of Hypertension. Okay. Now there are two methods which are commonly used for measuring blood pressure. One is palpatory method and another is auscultatory method. Palpatory means to feel, palpation means to feel. Okay, so here in palpatory method, you will not be using any stethoscope. You will not listen any corroscope sound. Just by placing your fingers over the pulse of the patient, you need to measure blood pressure. It is called palpatory method, and next is auscultatory method. In auscultatory method, you will place the stethoscope over the brachial artery and you will measure blood pressure. Right? So this is the difference. Palpation means to feel and auscultation means to listen. Okay, now these are the precautions. So cuff should be tied over the brachial artery. Okay, cuff should be tied over the brachial artery and cuff should not be too tight or too loose. So ideally, after tying the cuff, someone please come here. Come here. Take your stool also. Sit here. This one. Okay, so cuff should be tied on the brachial artery, right? Cuff should be tied on the brachial artery, and it should not be too tight or it should not be too loose. So ideally, this is your elbow crease, and from the elbow crease, 2 fingers above should be the lower border of the femur, right? And it is tied in this way, and it should not be too tight or too loose. Here I have done one thing wrong. That is, this arm should be exposed. Okay, this arm should be exposed properly. And remember, very often the mistakes we do is we frequently roll the sleeves over the arm, and that is wrong. So once this rolled sleeve constricts your arm, it can change the value of your blood pressure, right? Okay, so you may do it, but remember, the rolled sleeve should not constrict patient's arm. Okay. Okay. So ideally, it should be exposed properly, and if it is not practically possible, you can roll it over, but the rolled sleeve, it should not constrict patient's arm, right? And from these 2 fingers above will be the lower border of the femur, right? And it should not be too tight or too loose, so that you can easily insert 2 fingers inside, right? Okay. The cuff should not be either too loose or too tight. The pressure should fall at 2 to 3 millimeter of mercury per second. The cuff should not be tight for a long period with rest pressure. Okay. So again, another important point that while doing palpatory method, so I will place my finger over the patient's radial artery, right? And I will feel the pulse, right? I will feel the pulse. Now I will raise the pressure inside the cuff. How? I will tighten the screw, and I will inflate slowly, not more than 10 millimeter of mercury at a time, right? So 10 millimeter of mercury at a time, and a point will come when, so now it is at 160. So a point will come when pulse will disappear, and I will raise 20 to 30 millimeter of mercury more than the point where pulse is just appeared. Pulse is just gone, right? Okay. So say for example, so now it is at 0. Okay. So now it is at 0. I am feeling the pulse. It is palpable. So what my objective is? My objective is I will occlude the brachial artery with the pressure inside the cuff, right? So that the pulse will not be transmitted here in the radial artery. So my objective is I will occlude brachial artery, and you know radial artery is the continuation of brachial artery, right? Okay. So axillary artery, subclavian artery, brachial artery, radial artery, right? In this way. Okay. So here is the brachial artery. Now I will occlude the brachial artery, and once the brachial artery is fully occluded, you will not be able to feel any pulse over here, right? Okay. So say for example, I am raising 20, 30, 40, 60, still palpable, 100, still palpable, 120, still palpable, 130, not palpable. Okay, so 130 not palpable. Now I am raising more than that at 160 or 70. Right? Now I will gradually, very slowly deflate it. Okay, now very slowly I will deflate it. Now a point will come when the radial pulse will just appear. Right? Getting my point? Okay, so 130 I am just getting the pulse. Okay, 130 I am just getting the pulse. Okay, done. So this is palpatory method, and you get only the systolic pressure. Only the systolic pressure with palpatory method. Okay, so all of you clear how in palpatory method we detect the systolic blood pressure, right? Okay. So my objective is to occlude the brachial artery. And when the brachial artery is fully occluded, pulse will just disappear. Okay, and you raise, say for example, at 130 millimeter of mercury, you are not getting any pulse. Okay, at 125, 126, 127, you were getting very feeble pulse, but at 130 you are not getting any pulse. Okay, so you raise because you need to measure not while ascending, you need to measure the systolic blood pressure while descending, right? Okay, so now at 130 pulse is just disappeared, you raise it beyond at least for 30 millimeter of mercury. So if your pulse is diminished or pulse is disappeared at 130, you raise it to 160 and slowly reduce at a rate of 2 to 3 millimeter of mercury per second. Okay, and you detect the point where pulse is just appearing. Okay, and this point is the patient's systolic blood pressure. In this case, it is 130 millimeter of mercury. And this is palpatory method. Without any stethoscope, I am measuring this blood pressure. What blood pressure? Only the systolic blood pressure. Okay. So this is the drawback of palpatory method. You cannot detect diastolic blood pressure with the help of palpatory method. Okay. Okay. So again, you need to remember that not right now, but maybe during your clinical practice. Okay. And few questions might be asked. So remember. So again, this criteria is given by AHA and ESH together. Okay. So American Heart Association and European Society of Hypertension, they gives us this table. This is optimal blood pressure is less than 120 and less than 80 diastolic. Okay. Normal is I am not reading out, just see and I will also share with you. Right. So we have optimal blood pressure, normal blood pressure. Again, for normal blood pressure and high normal blood pressure, the management is only dietary. We do not prescribe any antihypertensive medication. So grade 1 hypertension is the first point where you need to start medications, right? So again, these are beyond the scope of our discussion. We are not discussing how to treat a patient of hypertension, but just knowing the physiology and pathophysiology, right? So grade 1 hypertension, grade 2 hypertension, grade 3 hypertension, and another point is that isolated systolic hypertension, where your only systolic blood pressure is high, but diastolic blood pressure remains within optimal or normal range or high normal range, right? So isolated systolic hypertension. Optimal, normal, high normal, grade 1 to 3 and isolated systolic, right? Okay. Okay, before coming to that, let me explain you the auscultatory method of measuring blood pressure. Okay. Auscultatory method of measuring blood pressure. So how to do it? So here, instead of keeping my fingers on the pulse of the patient, I will use a stethoscope. Okay, I will use a stethoscope. So what I will do, so you will be knowing gradually that this,
right arm always left arm.
it is better to use left arm. I will be explaining why. Okay, because left arm, the direct branch. Okay, direct branch from heart, right? Okay, so always better to use left arm, where many times you will face patients where it is not practically possible. Say for example, there are some skin diseases over here, okay, or there might be amputated hand, right? So in that case, you can use right hand as well. Okay. But preferably, always use left hand. Okay. So first thing is, you need to palpate the brachial artery. Okay, you will feel the brachial pulsation, and you need to keep the diaphragm. That this is the all the parts of stethoscope. This is diaphragm. This is diaphragm. Okay, gradually you will be knowing because many things will be unknown right now. Okay, so this is diaphragm of the stethoscope. This is bell of the stethoscope. This is for high pitch sound. This is for low pitch sound, right? And you can rotate this towards the diaphragm or towards the bell, right? So if you want to listen with the diaphragm, then you need to rotate it and you need to check whether the sound is coming with the diaphragm or not. Or if you are using the bell, then you need to check whether this is rarely used for low pitch sounds only. Okay. Okay. So this is the angulation always while using stethoscope. So you read this angulation is anteriorly and this is forward and laterally. Okay, forward and laterally. It should be forward and laterally. So towards your direction. So forward and laterally, right? So I will place it because the direction of your external auditory canal. Okay, it is according to your direction of the external auditory canal. So you will place in this way, not in this way. This is wrong. This is right. Okay. Okay. So what I will do, I will place the diaphragm over the. I will palpate first the brachial artery, and I will place the diaphragm of the stethoscope over the brachial artery. Right. Now I will raise again. I will raise. Okay. I will tighten the screw, and I will raise. Right. I will inflate. And I will listen some sound. Tick, 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 tick. I will listen some sound. Okay. Now I will raise, say for example, this sound is, I am listening this sound at 100, at 110, at 120, at 130, the sound disappears. Right. Now I will raise beyond that, that means up to 160, say for example. Okay. So up to 160 I have raised it. No sound audible right now. Okay, I am not listening any sound. Now, gradually, I will reduce it at a rate of 2 to 3 mm of mercury per second, right? Now, the point will come where I will first listen the sound. Okay? The appearance of sound. And this sound is called Korotkoff sound. Okay? The point of appearance of sound is systolic blood pressure, and the point of disappearance of sound is the diastolic blood pressure. Right? Okay. So I will I'm explaining. I will feel the brachial pulse, and I will place the diaphragm of the stethoscope over the brachial pulse, right? And I will inflate the inflator gradually at a rate of 10 mmHg per second. While inflation 10 mmHg per second. While deflation 2 to 3 mmHg per second. Right? So very slowly, because while descending, you are measuring actually blood pressure. Okay. So say for example, I have raised up to 160. Okay, the topmost 160, right? Now I am gradually deflating. And at 130, I am just listening Korotkoff sound. Okay, I am just listening Korotkoff sound. Just the appearance of Korotkoff sound. 130. Again, I am deflating at a rate of 2 to 3 millimeter of mercury per second. And say for example, at 80, the sound disappears. The point of appearance of sound is systolic blood pressure, and the point of disappearance of sound is diastolic blood pressure. Okay. Okay, there is still a debate remaining that some physicians they consider that it is not the disappearance of sound which signifies the diastolic blood pressure. Some say that it is not the disappearance, but it is the muffling of corpuscle sound. But it is for your level, it is very difficult to to detect the muffling of corpuscle sound. Okay, because the sound is initially sharp and gradually it is muffled. Okay, so corpuscle sound, it is initially tapping. Okay, tapping, swishing, murmur, muffled. Okay, so there are 4 different sound types, but for your level, definitely it is very difficult to how to separate those sounds. Okay, how to differentiate those sounds. It might not be possible. You will just listen one sound, tick, 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 tick. Okay, so this is called corpuscle sound. Now, next question comes. What is the physiological basis of appearance of this corpuscle sound? Korotkov is the name of the scientist according to his name. The sound is nomenclature, right? So what you are basically doing while inflating the pump, by inflating this inflator, you are occluding brachial artery, right? You are occluding brachial artery. Up to at 130 it is already occluded, and you raise it more 30 millimeter of mercury more than the occlusion point, right? Okay, and gradually you are decreasing. So a point will come where brachial artery will just open, right? Brachial artery will just open, and there is a sudden gush of blood from the proximal to distal segment, right? Okay. So this is the beginning of corpuscle sound. So the cause of corpuscle sound is the turbulence. Okay, I'll be taking your class on cardiovascular system. Turbulence is somewhat chaotic flow. Normally, within blood vessel, your blood flow is laminar. Okay, normally within a blood vessel, your blood flow is laminar. Laminar means, okay, I'll explain it in theory classes. Laminar blood flow means very smooth. Very smooth. So there is no chaotic or pockets of turbulence are not there. Okay. How to give you an example? You have seen streams, river streams. Okay. So normally, in a normal condition, the river stream is laminar. But say for example, during a stormy season or stormy environment, there are pockets of abnormal flow. इधर उधर से पानी इधर उधर भाग रहा है, ठीक है? So this is called turbulence. Okay. So in turbulence appears when velocity increases. So blood flow is usually normally within all blood vessels there is laminar blood flow. Okay. And there is turbulence blood flow. After laminar there is transitional blood flow, then turbulent blood flow. There is a number called Reynolds number. Anyway, all these things will be low volume right now. So turbulence, when turbulence occurs in blood flow, you listen to the corpuscle sound. And this turbulence gradually decreases, and again the laminar blood flow re-establishes. Right? So during the period of turbulence, you listen a sound which is called the corpuscle sound. Okay. Okay, so next slide. Okay, there are other points. So while measuring blood pressure, you need to ensure few points. One is you should not take tea or coffee alcohol within 1 hour of measurement of blood pressure, and definitely you will not measure blood pressure once your patient enters into your clinic, and immediately you should not measure blood pressure. Patient should be taking rest for at least 5 minutes, and patient's arm and cuff should be at the level of heart. Okay. Again, this is wrong because patient should be seated in a chair with a backrest, right? And arm should be on the table, and it should not be hanging while you are measuring blood pressure. Again, it can raise the blood pressure, and you get a false high value, right? What else? Yes, other points I have already told, that ideally you will expose the patient, expose the arm. Ideally it should be left arm. You should not, ideally you should not roll. Even if you are rolling, you need to check that this rolled segment should not constrict the patient arm, right? No, normal, relaxed. Okay, okay, coming to next. Okay, now white coat hypertension. What is white coat hypertension? Patient, doctor to देखिए patient का blood pressure बढ़ गया. So this is called white coat hypertension. So office BP in the hypertension range, but out of office BP not in the hypertension range in patient and not taking any antihypertensive medication. So it is normal patient. Normal patient, normal healthy individual, and blood pressure is within the normal range. But when the patient is visiting doctor's office or clinic, blood pressure is high, falsely high, right? So this is called white coat hypertension. What is masked hypertension? Masked hypertension is out of BP, out of office blood pressure in the hypertensive range, but inside doctor's clinic just opposite to that. Okay. But inside the clinic, blood pressure is normal range. It frequently happens in diabetes mellitus, right? Also in chronic kidney disease and obstructive sleep apnea. Just few questions your examiner may ask you during your practical examination. What is white coat hypertension? What is masked hypertension? Okay. There are reasons as well. We will also explain during your theory classes. Okay. So what you need to do during your practical of blood pressure measurement. So this chart you need to fill. Okay. This chart you need to fill, and you need to write this in your practical manual, right? And check it, get it signed by your respective teacher. Okay. So you will take 3 readings: systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure. What is pulse pressure? Pulse pressure is just the difference between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. MABP is mean arterial blood pressure. What is the formula of mean arterial blood pressure? Anyone? Yes, it is diastolic blood pressure plus 1/3 pulse pressure. Diastolic blood pressure plus 1/3 pulse pressure. Okay, so I'm giving an example. So 120, 80, if systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure, pulse pressure is 40, 120 minus 80, and mean arterial pressure is diastolic blood pressure plus 1/3 pulse pressure. That means 80 plus 1/3 of 40. Okay. DBP plus 1/3 PT, that is 80 plus 40 by 3 is equal to 93.3. Okay, so 93.3 is mean arterial blood pressure. So you will take 3 readings, and every time you will calculate pulse pressure and mean arterial pressure. Okay, this is the chart you need to fill and write it down in your practical manual and check it and get it signed by your teacher. Okay, now what are the questions that are frequently asked during this practical? So define blood pressure. What is blood pressure? Anyone from your 10+2 knowledge, what is blood pressure?
Large capillary external membrane is a pressure terminus.
No. It is the lateral pressure. It is the lateral pressure exerted by blood column on the vessel wall. Okay. Okay. Do you know Bernoulli's principle? You know. Okay. I'm coming to it. So next question is, what do the diastolic and systolic blood pressure depends upon? You will not be able to answer those questions because cardiovascular system is yet to start, right, in theory. So diastolic blood pressure depends on peripheral resistance. Peripheral resistance, that is the resistance of distal arteries, distal arterioles actually, and systolic blood pressure, it depends on the stroke volume and myocardial contractility. Okay, stroke volume, myocardial contractility, these things are okay. Right now, just I am introducing the terms to you: preload, afterload, myocardial contractility, stroke volume, ejection fraction. Okay, all those things I will explain later on during your theory or lecture classes. So blood pressure is the lateral pressure exerted by the blood column on the blood vessel, and diastolic blood pressure depends upon the peripheral resistance or afterload. Okay, peripheral resistance is equal to afterload. It is peripheral resistance is simply the resistance exerted by the distal arteries or arterioles, right? And systolic blood pressure depends on myocardial contractility, how forcefully your myocardium is contracting. Okay, this is myocardial contractility, and preload is the end diastolic volume, the amount of blood or the volume of blood inside your left ventricle just after the diastole or beginning of systole. Okay, this is end diastolic volume. So systolic blood pressure depends on stroke volume, depends on myocardial contractility, and also depends on the afterload. Okay. Next question: what are Korotkoff sounds? I have already explained. Korotkoff sounds are produced due to turbulence in blood flow. Produced due to turbulence of blood flow. What is auscultatory gap? Very important question. If you answer well during your examination, your examiner might ask you. It is not auscultatory gap is not a starting question. Initially, your examiner will ask you all the basic questions, and if you surmount, if you overcome, then only a few difficult questions are asked. This is the rule of viva in all medical examinations. Okay? Be it in anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, medicine, surgery, gynecology, everywhere the pattern of viva is same. Initially, the basic questions are asked. That those questions are for passing only, whether you are passing the practical examination or not. Okay? So after overcoming those questions, you are proceeding for good marks, honors marks, gold medal, whatever. Okay? So you are gradually facing difficult questions. Okay? So what is auscultatory gap? Auscultatory gap is first of all, it is seen in hypertensive and atherosclerotic individual. What is atherosclerosis? Blood vessels are stiffened. Okay? Blood vessels are stiffened, sclerosed. Okay? It frequently happens with patients of hypertension and dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia means high triglyceride cholesterol, right? Okay. So auscultatory gap is seen in those patients. So what happens? You falsely measure blood pressure low. So how does it happen? So initially, what happens? You are raising blood pressure. Say at 130, no sound. Okay. So you are raising up to 150 or 160 and gradually decreasing, and you see that at 130 you are just listening this sound. So you have written that 130 is the systolic blood pressure, but this is wrong. Why? Because in this group of patients, you need to keep in mind there might be auscultatory gap. Okay. So what is that gap? Actually, pressure is very much high. Say for example 180 or 190. Okay. So if you raise beyond 200 and you reduce blood pressure, you get start of Korotkoff sound at 190. Okay. So 190, gradually you are decreasing. At 170 it is gone. Sound is gone. Again it is reappearing at 130. Okay. So 130 to 170, this duration is auscultatory gap. As because your blood vessels are sclerosed, even if there is turbulence, it is not producing it is not transmitting the sound. Okay, so it is called Korotkoff, it is called auscultatory gap. Okay, and frequently you will get it in atherosclerosed and hypertensive individual, right? Okay, what are the factors that affect blood pressure? Age, obesity, alcohol, vitamin D deficiency, genetic factor definitely, alpha-adducing gene very frequently involved in essential hypertension, right? So just remember few very important points: alcoholism, vitamin D deficiency, obesity, smoking, okay, age, and genetic factor, that is alpha-adducing gene. Okay. Two differences, but not a major factor. Okay. Another important thing, you are new in medical science. Here, sequence matters. Okay. So always remember sequence matters. Why? So just I am giving you an example. Say for example, in your medicine ward, a patient is coughing. Simply, a patient is coughing. Okay, and there is a history of fever and cough for 1 month, for more than 1 month. Now, your examiner will ask you, what are the causes of fever and coughing for more than 1 month? Okay, fever and coughing for more than 1 month. So there are numerous causes, so lots of causes. There might be some simply respiratory infection, lower respiratory tract infection, upper respiratory tract infection like tonsillitis, pharyngitis, common cold. There might be common cold. It might be a case of tuberculosis, pulmonary tuberculosis. It might be a case of lung cancer. It might be a case of obstructive disease like bronchitis or bronchial asthma or COPD. Okay. So there are numerous causes. Okay. So you need to enlist all the causes, right? And here sequence matters. The most common cause you need to mention first, and the rarest cause it should be mentioned at last, right? So here sequence matters. Okay. So most common cause is simply upper respiratory tract infection. Okay. And maybe a rarest cause is allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. You might be knowing the disease, you know the disease, but your examiner is asking you what are the causes of cough and fever for more than 1 month. So at number 1 you are writing allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, just fail. Okay. Sequence matters. The most common cause first. Okay. Most common cause first. Second most common is first, second. So remember throughout your medical career, sequence matters, right? So maybe in this case, your first will be telling upper respiratory tract infection, lower respiratory tract infection, common cold, pneumonia, okay, obstructive lung disease like bronchitis, bronchial asthma, lung cancer, and lastly might be allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, right? A fungal infection. Okay. So this is how you need to present in your viva examination, in your practical examination, in your theory, everywhere sequence matters. Okay. Okay, so what are the factors? Again the same. What are the factors that affect your blood pressure? Most common. Say most common first. Age, obesity, alcohol consumption, vitamin D deficiency, genetic factors, separate heading, alpha DCG. Right? Okay, what is the most accurate? I have already mentioned. Direct method. Directly insert a cannula into the artery, connect it to a mercury manometer and measure blood pressure. Direct method, okay, which is invasive method. Not practically feasible, but it is done. It is done in ICU setup. Okay, so what is most accurate method to measure blood pressure? Invasive method, right? Okay, so this is example of Bernoulli's principle. Okay. So if a blood vessel is narrowed down, what will happen? According to Bernoulli's principle, the sum of lateral energy and kinetic energy is fixed. Your blood is flowing, your lateral energy, blood is flowing inside a tube. Inside the tube, blood is flowing. So it has got two different heads of energy. One is lateral energy, which is the blood pressure you are measuring. Okay, pressure unit can be converted into energy unit. Physics students knows. Okay, so in a blood vessel, blood is flowing, there is a lateral energy and there is kinetic energy. We ignore the gravitational force and the potential static energy, right? Okay, so we have the kinetic energy and the lateral energy. And the sum is always fixed, right? So this is Bernoulli's principle. Now once a segment is narrowed down, what will happen? Velocity will increase, kinetic energy will increase. So the lateral energy, that means blood pressure, is falling. Okay. So it has got a clinical importance. Last question. Give the clinical importance of the above principle in atherosclerotic blood vessels. So what happens in atherosclerotic blood vessels? Atheroma or cholesterol plaque deposits in the blood vessels, in the wall of the blood vessels, damages the tunica, tunica intima, tunica media, tunica adventitia. Okay, so atherosclerotic plaque deposits and the blood vessel is narrowed down. Okay, blood vessel is narrowed down. So what happens? Within the atherosclerotic segment, flow velocity increases. Okay, within the narrowed segment, atherosclerotic segment, velocity increases. Velocity increases means kinetic energy increases and lateral energy or blood pressure falls. Lateral pressure falls. And this falling lateral pressure again helps deposition of more atherosclerosis. Okay, deposition of more cholesterol and it further narrows down the blood vessel. Right? So this is the clinical importance. Once the blood vessel is atherosclerotic, in a vicious cycle, it gets narrowed and narrowed if not treated. Right? Okay. So this is again one clinical question from blood pressure measurement. So that's it. I'm not asking you to do the practical proper today because you don't have your personal stethoscope and blood pressure by now. So all of you definitely you must have a stethoscope and your own personal BP machine. Okay. So as early as possible, get one stethoscope and one Android device. Okay, no need to measure all the digital. Okay, this is not for you. Okay, so do not purchase any digital machine. Only Android sphygmomanometer. Simply it is available in all online merchants like Amazon, Flipkart, or whatever. Okay, just place order or you can purchase physically from the shop as well. Buy a stethoscope and a sphygmomanometer so that we can do the practical proper. Never, but that is not. Okay, you purchase your own. Okay. Lead man is not required. For your level, lead man is not required. Don't spend 5,000 or 10,000 bucks for a stethoscope. An average quality stethoscope with a price tag of 1K or maximum 1.5K is enough for you, right? Okay?
সিস্টোলিক ব্লাড কাউন্টে কি ফার্স্ট স্পট সাউন্ডিং করে আর স্পট সাউন্ড কত বলে শোনা যাবে
up to point of disappearance. Okay. So we are not doing the practical proper, but we have a blood pressure machine. You can check on your own, right? But যাদের কাছে আছে blood pressure machine stethoscope তারা ইউজ করতে পারো, একটু করতে পারো, ঠিক আছে? প্রপার প্র্যাকটিক্যাল আজকে করাচ্ছি না বিকজ তোমাদের মেশিনটা নেই, ঠিক আছে? তাহলে as early as possible, maybe within next 15 days, please get one stethoscope and blood pressure machine, right? And then you need to fill that chart. Okay. Okay. That's all for today.
The sclerous tissue is nothing but it comprises of two things. One is bones and the cartilage. And what is the basic difference between a bone and a cartilage? The bone is needed where the firmness is needed. Bone is seen in that area where the firmness is needed. Because we have to stand. So the bone should be a firm one. You can bear the weight of the body. Whereas the cartilage, firmness as well as there is firmness. Definitely a firmness is needed. But at the same time there is elasticity is needed also. Okay. So this is basically the difference between bones and cartilage, and both of them and ultimately comprises the sclerous tissue. Now, above the cartilage, there are several types of cartilage, which is the one very important, that is the hyaline cartilage. Hyaline means hyalus, means clear, crystal clear, like glass. Okay, actually those cartilage which actually covers the articular area of the bone. And in a young bone, there are epiphyseal end, the epiphyses. The ends are the epiphyses. And there is a shaft. In a young long bone, there is a shaft. And in between the epiphyses and the diaphyses, there is a epiphyseal plate. That again, that epiphyseal plate is higher in cartilage. Then is the white fibrocartilage. Okay, where we can see in our intervertebral disc, they are the white fibrocartilage where they can bear the compression. And there is another yellow elastic cartilage. We can see the pinna is there, the most common example. Now we are concerned with the bones. We will restrict ourselves for today's discussion over the bones. Now, what is a bone? It forms the function. It forms a structural framework first of the body, upon which we can get the muscles. So, muscle cannot get its attachment without any bone. There is no meaning. It will be a volatile one. Without bone, the muscle will move in air. So it needs something which needs an anchorage. That is the bone. Is the structure. We can see the rib cage, which protects the viscera. There are very vital viscera, that is the heart, lung is there, which have been protected by these bones. So it gives protection to the viscera and all. Okay. But in the abdomen, again what we get? No, there is no bone. But there are so many vital organs. Because so many vital viscera, liver, spleen, everything is there. Okay. Then how they have been protected? By this abdominal muscle. Suddenly it will taut. It will get taut and it protects us. And the abdominal wall, it acts as a rigid. তোমাকে না ঠিকই খুঁজছিলেন না স্যার না ওই থেকে ওই so the next is the protection. Third one is a storehouse of the calcium. Calcium is needed. The next one is the ends of young long bone, flat bones, cranial bones, where we will get the red bone marrow. So there is the erythropoiesis. What is erythropoiesis? So this is for the erythropoiesis. Okay. Now we can see so many bones are there. We can see this is another bone. We can see this is another bone. Are they same? They are different. We can see. Are they same? No. They differ. Now, some are very long, the length is more than the breadth. This one, the length is also more than the breadth. So, these bones are called long bones. Whether this long bone and this long bone looks similar, this is long bone and this is a short long bone, and somebody is saying it's a miniature long bone. She is already in advance to others. হয়েছে কোথায় কে পড়িয়েছে So that is the young long bone. Sorry, this is the long bone. This is the short long bone or the miniature long bone. Now we can find the brick-like bones. These are the short bones, which have got 6 surfaces, out of which 4 are articular, except which are occupying on the lateral and the medial side. We can find the 4 surfaces are articular and 2 surfaces non-articular, where I can touch. Which I can touch is non-articular. Articular means there is a joint. The joining between 2 bones or the joints. Okay. So this is the short bones. Then we can find another bone. This is the maxilla. Here inside we can find the air cavity. Okay. In our the bones which are occupied around the nose, they are the pneumatic bones. Pneuma means air. Why? Nature has provided this bone, these air cavities, to lighten our cranial cavity. Okay. So when we get a common cold, these air cavities actually gets filled up with the secretions. রাজভোগ দেখেছো? রাজভোগের ভিতরটা একটা জায়গা থাকে, ছোট্ট একটা ফুটো, মানে ক্যাভিটি. We can assume the Rajbog as a bone, and inside there is a cavity, and that too is not empty. There is a small sweet material. That is the discharge. Assume that is the discharge. Okay. So this is the pneumatic bone. Pneuma means air. Pneumonitis. The lung, there is an inflammation, pneumonia. The air-filled lung, there is an itis means inflammation, that is infected. Similarly, the sinusitis, the sinus, it is covered by some mucous membrane, and when that is affected, that is called sinusitis. In sinusitis, the air is replaced by some material. So this is the pneumatic bone. There is another bone which is missing here, that is the vertebra. And also the hip bone is not here. They are called the irregular bones, which do not have any special shape, very much irregular. So they are the irregular bones. we can find this bone and all the ribs are there. Okay, they are called the flat bones. In flat bone, what happens? There is outer table and inner table. Outer table of compact bone and inner table of compact bone, and in between there is a spongy bone. Remember this, all these spongy bones, these are the places where we get the erythropoiesis. And also, we have cut open the bone. It is a tibia. Okay, this is the tibia. We can find, this is the opening. And here we can find at the ends, the trabecular or cavity area, cavity-like area. These are the trabecular or spongy bone. And here, here we can find the tough bone. That is a compact bone. And so this is the compact bone and this is a trabecular bone or the spongy bone. And inside we are getting the medullary cavity inside. Medullary cavity is filled up with bone marrow. Okay. একটুকে কাটা হয়েছে আমাদের জন্য কেটেছি Now, what are the parts of a long bone? What are the parts of a young long bone? We can draw a picture. খাবার শেষ হয়ে গেছে খাবার ফুরিয়ে গেছে ঠিক আছে তো খাবার এটাও ফুরিয়ে গেছে এগুলোর কোনো এই যদি পারমিশন দেয় খাবার প্রায় শেষ So in a young long bone, what we get? The ends and intervening shaft of the body. The ends are called the epiphyses. And the shaft of the body is called the diaphysis. And this is the epiphyseal plate. That is a cartilage. That is the hyaline cartilage. Clear? Now, this is the whole tributary the area of the diaphysis. Okay. But this area has got special name. That is the epiphyseal end of the diaphysis, which is called the metaphysis. So a young long bone has young long bone. This is also a long bone, but this is the short long bone. I am not going through this bone. I am going actually to the long bone. So here we get two epiphyseal end. One diaphysis, and within the diaphysis we are getting the metaphysis. Now, what is diaphysis? Diaphysis, तो मैं तो कुछ जान लूँ, but यदि बोली what is diaphysis? आधे लोग बोलते हैं, what is diaphysis? Diaphysis is the part of the bone which ossifies from primary center of ossification. Epiphysis is the part of the bone which ossifies from the secondary center of ossification. What is ossification? Process of bone formation. Everything you should ask in your mind. Whatever term you will get, ask, what is epiphysis? What is diaphysis? And gradually it will be clear to you. So, diaphysis is a part which ossifies from primary center. And or primary center, and from where the major part of the bone ossifies. And what is epiphysis? It is from the secondary center, ossifies from the secondary center, and which forms the axillary part of the bone. Now, about the center, this is the primary center. Suppose this is the primary center. This is the secondary center. The secondary centers might be several, but primary centers are generally one. Might be two. Center of ossification, primary center of ossification, when it starts before birth. Within the mother womb. That means in the intrauterine life, we get the appearance of the primary center. Generally, there are exceptions. There are tarsal bones, carpal bones. These are where we will get the primary centers, but appears after birth. But generally, the primary center from where the major part of the bone ossifies, it appears before birth. And this is the secondary centers, which might be single or multiple. They appear generally they appear at different time, and they appear after birth. And from where the axillary or ancillary part of the bone ossifies, or the epiphysis. And this primary center is generally one or two, but they will appear simultaneously. But these secondary ossification centers, center or centers, like this is the head, there is one center. This is the greater tubercle, there is another center. This is the lesser tubercle, there is another center. They appear at different time. First, they unite with themselves, then ultimately form a single piece of epiphysis, and ultimately they get ossified with the bone. When the growth of the bone is complete, that means when there is in a young humerus, we will get a epiphyseal line or epiphyseal plate young. But when it attains the maturity, that plate or line will disappear, and this epiphysis will actually gets united with the diaphysis. So here there are multiple epiphyses, but they joins with each other and forms a single epiphysis and ultimately joins. So this is called a simple epiphysis. Whereas here what we will get, one epiphysis for secondary center here for the head, one for the greater trochanter, one for the lesser trochanter. They individually will or in other way, in the lower end there is appearance in the lower end of the humerus. There are appearance of different centers. Some of them joins with themselves and ultimately joins with the shaft. That is a simple epiphysis. But the medial epicondyle of the humerus, it will join with the shaft separately. Very much selfish. They cannot adjust with anybody. So it joins with the shaft separately. আমি আলাদা করে থাকবো, তোমাদের সাথে থাকবো না। থাকে না অনেকে দেখবে বন্ধুদের মধ্যে, না ভাই আমি ভালো, তোরা থাক ভাই। So separately. So there we will get the compound epiphysis. Now there is continuous pressure, or there is the force, the body weight is passing through the head and also will be passing through the head of the humerus or the head of the femur. So these areas, these are called the epiphyses, but they are the pressure epiphyses. Pressure, they develop due to the pressure, and these greater tubercle or lesser tubercle, there are attachment of muscles, different muscles. Okay, rotator cuff muscles are attached here, and they pull, they track, they cause a traction. They are called the traction epiphyses. They develop due to the traction effect of the muscles. So they are the traction epiphyses. So pressure epiphysis, traction epiphysis. So your name? From West Bengal? How many of you from West Bengal? All? একজনও বিদেশি পাবো পেলাম না আমি, ওই ব্যাচে তো বিদেশিতে ভর্তি, তাই না? এখানে আসবে আসবে। So everybody is very much conversant in Bengali also, because Bengali is our most expressive language, very sweet language, and it's an expressive language, though there is a limited scope. So this is the pressure epiphysis, this is the traction epiphysis. There is another epiphysis where we can see it here. It is the coracoid process of the scapula. অন্তত চিনতে পারো scapula. মোলস কিনেছো বাবা কেমনি কিনে নাও না পেলে কিছুই সব আরবি ফার্সি হয়ে যাবে আমার বর্ণনাটা বৃথা হয়ে যাবে. So this is the coracoid or crow's beak. This looks like crow's beak, right? So this is actually if we search the evolutionary history, it was a separate piece of bone. But it is a parasite. It is dependent on this bone for the blood supply. So ultimately it fuses with this bone. Okay, so this epiphysis is called the atavistic type of epiphysis. Atavistic type of epiphysis. This is the articulated skeleton of hand. Here we can find these are the metacarpal bones. Okay, and these are the phalangeal bones. Here we also get the ossification center, but they are at the knuckle. That means the ossification, there is only ossification center. In short long bone, there is only epiphyseal center. Only one epiphysis. Only one epiphysis. In long bone, there are two epiphyses on either side. But in short long bone, there are only one epiphysis. And they are confined over the metacarpus, they are present over the head. Okay. And over the phalanges, they are present over the base, because at the knuckle, I told you. This is the first metacarpal. So we can expect the epiphyseal center at the head. But apart from this epiphyseal center at the head, there is another epiphyseal center in the base. So sometimes there is an extra epiphyseal center which is called aberrant epiphysis. Aberration, it's spherical aberration in physics. You have seen there is deviation, spherical aberration. Physics এ পড়ছো তো নাকি? মনে পড়ছে? অপটিক্যাল সেন্টার ছিল এখানে without deviation light passes. মনে পড়ছে? The spherical aberration is a thing which is very much pertinent in our eyeball also. There is a cornea which also acts as a lens. We can see that there is a lens inside, which is, we can assume that prisms. There are so many prisms are there. There are the convex lenses. So there is a spherical aberration because all the light rays are not falling on the same plane at different planes. This is an aberration. So that means this is an aberration. Generally it doesn't happen, but sometimes we can find a separate center at the base because the metacarpal heads actually bears only one epiphysis and rest is the diaphysis. তলায় কিন্তু আর কিছু নেই, epiphysis নেই।
থামটা রিসেপশন।
থাম ঠিক না, থাম তো এটা করতে হবে। এই ফার্স্ট মেটাকার্পাল থাম বললে ভুল হয়ে যাচ্ছে। অনেক স্পেসিফিক আমাদের মেডিকেল টার্মে। So this is the first metacarpal where you can find the aberrant epiphysis. Now what is ossification? Process of bone formation. Process of bone formation. It can happen. First there is a membranous model which is replaced by the cartilage, definitely the bone or the, okay. Here we, in the long bones, we will get the cartilaginous model and it ossifies in cartilaginous model. And this is the membrane and which ultimately ossifies. So, membranous ossification and this is the cartilaginous ossification. There is P from cartilage which is replaced by the bone. P from membrane which is replaced by the bone. Clear? And this is the bone, the unique bone of the body. This is a long bone, but this is a modified long bone because here it partly membranous, partly cartilaginous ossification we can see here. And this is the first bone to start ossification and last bone to complete the ossification in the body. Around 45th day of intrauterine life, we can get the starting of ossification and it ends around, it might be as late as 31 years. This is a modified long bone. Why? Why it is a long bone? It is, the length is more than the breadth. Why it is a long bone? It bears the weight of the body. Another very important criteria of the long bone is it bears the weight of the body and it is vertically, they are all vertically disposed, but except this one. This is horizontal. Tale modified long bone. Second is, all the long bones, they actually ossifies in cartilaginous model. Here it is partly membranous, partly cartilaginous. And third, if we cut so we can find the medullary cavity. Medullary cavity, but we do not get any medullary cavity here. So that is a modified long bone. তোমার নাম কি বাবু?
রেমিম আহসান।
ভালো, মিষ্টি স্বভাব আছে। নিরীহ টাইপের ছিল। খুব নিরীহ। Next, about the ossification. There are some laws of ossification. Suppose this is the epiphyseal center. The first, and this is the diaphysis, and this is the metaphysis. Ossification centers appears, this is the primary center appears in the diaphysis and the secondary center in the epiphysis. But ultimately this epiphysis will join with the diaphysis or the epiphyseal ends will join with the shaft of the body. Suppose The appearance of the secondary center is around 1 year. Okay. And there is 3 year. And this is the 5 year. Suppose there are not, or this is 1 year, 3 year for the greater trochanter, and this is the 5th year. The center which appears first unites with the shaft last. মানে এই যদি এক বছরে হয় মানে এবার ultimately it will join with the shaft last. That means if it is 1 year, it will join with the shaft. Suppose it will join with the shaft at around 20 years. Whereas this is a 3 years, it will join with the shaft around 15 years. It is 5 years, it will join with the shaft around 18 years. So the center, regarding the secondary center, the center which appears first unites with the diaphysis last, and vice versa. That means which appears last joins with the shaft first. Except there is one bone, there is a fibula. In the lower end, appears first, unites first. In the fibula means the left tibia, this is tibia, and this is fibula, the stick-like bone. Okay. So here we get the violation of the laws of oscillation. ঠিক আছে? এটা important. Next, in the bone we can get a nutrient foramina. We can find a nutrient foramina here. In upper lip there is a dictum. In elbow I go, and below the knee I flee. Here we can get the nutrient foramina. That means a foramina through which the nutrient artery enters. Actually, the bone gets its blood supply. There is nutrient artery which enters, and this foramina is called the nutrient artery. The foramina, nutrient foramina. It is directed towards the elbow. You can see it is directed towards the elbow. This is the elbow. Okay. Whereas here we can find it is directed upwards. In fibula it is directed downwards. So in elbow I go, that means towards the elbow I go, and below the knee I flee. At the knee I flee. That means here it is, the direction is towards the knee joint. Now what is the use of knowing this? The direction of the nutrient phenomena is very important. If it is directed towards this area, okay,